Welcome.
Hey everybody.
It's Saturday, March 26, 2022. Hudson's here. We have our special walking tour of mom and pop storefronts of the East Village. And we have a nice group today, nice and cozy. And here they all are. They all agreed to be part of the live stream. Let's introduce everybody. This is Samia, Samuel, Marty, and Michael. And
Wow.
Hudson.
You did great.
Right?
Hey.
I'm ready. I'm like a teacher.
Yeah. Hey, Chris Bates is in here.
I'm actually a better teacher than I ever had because they always spelled my name Karla with a C.
Hey, George.
You know, until they instead of Karla with a K. When I was little, I would just be like, oh no, I'm Karla with a K. But then I think by the time I was in 3rd or 4th grade, I gave up, and I'm just like, I'm just happy that they got Karla right. That's New York City public schools for you. At any rate, guys, we have a special walking tour. We're going to walk around some of our favorite mom and pop storefronts of the East Village, show you ones that obviously are still in existence today, but also talk about some of the ones that we miss so dearly. Because guys, you know, some of you may not, you know, have followed us along for a long time, but we're East Village residents. Like, this is our community. We live really only a few blocks from here. And we started documenting like the mom and pop stores. Even though we've lived here for like well over 25 years in this neighborhood, it wasn't really our own neighborhood that we started documenting the stores because we kind of took them for granted, like that they would always be here, and we never thought to take a photo. It was really going into outlying neighborhoods of like Bronx and Brooklyn and Queens that we would often go to the same neighborhood, like after a few months we'd return, and then we would see that some of the stores had closed, that they were no longer in business, and it bothered us. It said, like, to us, it was just like, wait a minute, the neighborhood doesn't look the same anymore, it doesn't feel the same anymore. Like, the very reason that we liked the neighborhood in the first place, because of its preponderance of mom and pop stores, when it lost them, it really lost its flavor. So we, in our mind, we said, you know what, let's start taking a photo of them. And this was like back in the late 1990s. So this is all 35mm film. Like, this is before digital. And we were just collecting the photos. It was a very personal project for us. We weren't sharing them with anybody because it was like before the internet, really. You know, like, I mean, I don't remember when we got our first like AOL.com email, but I mean, you know, you weren't there weren't photo sites where you were sharing things. So we were just keeping them all. We weren't showing them to anybody. And then, I mean, I guess after like 10 years of taking photos, also interviewing the owners, because one of the things that we found was like, we became interested. We're like, well, wait a minute, why is this business like closed? Like, why did it go out of business? Whereas this other one, like say this one, since 1908, what's their secret? Why are they still here? And we would go inside and we would tell the owner, yo, we really love your store. Like, it looks so fabulous from the outside, whether it has a hand-painted sign or whether we love the big neon, like Venero's that we're going to talk about in a second. We're just like, you know, what is like your secret? Why are you still here? And after speaking to the owners, they had so many fascinating stories to tell, and I'm going to share one of the best stories. It involves Venero's, that we said, you know what, we have to keep on doing this. Like, the stories behind the photos became, like, to us, like almost more important than the photo themselves. So, yeah, we're just going to have fun, and we're going to walk along. We're going to hope that the weather is going to be, you know, James, show the sky. It's threatening. It's threatening rain. It already rained this morning. I took him out and he got all wet, but thankfully he's dried off. So one of the major reasons. Oh, Alexander Schwam just sent us 20 euros. Thank you so much, Alexander. Extra
Just so
good.
they can hear you.
Yeah, so I'm going to get close to the gimbal. James is going to take Hudson for a minute. So one of the reasons that businesses, small businesses, stayed in business is that we would speak to the owner and they would say, you know what? We own the building. I would ask them flat out, right, do you guys own the building? Because a lot of them would say our business is closing because the landlord, I only have like a couple of months left on my lease, and they quadrupled my rent, they quintupled my rent. In one case, and this is tragic, it was a music store near Times Square. They increased the rent 15 times. I mean, that's just basically saying F you. Right, like who can afford, a 15 times increase? Certainly not a small business. So that's what we decided to do. Now, our first stop, you see this, Russo's, manufactures mozzarella and ricotta. This store and its neighboring store, Venero's Pasticceria, which is even older, from 1894, this was a part of the East Village that had a huge Italian neighborhood. People don't realize that the East Village had like its own Little Italy. Just like you think of Little Italy of the Lower East Side centered around Mulberry Street, the East Village had a large Italian population in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And this business and this business are one of the last vestiges left of that old Italian neighborhood. And you might think from the storefront, which we love, the green, all the cheese and prosciutto. Look at the window, guys. Look at this. Look at that in the window. That they own the building. And I'm going to show you the building. It's a small little building. You see that? Very tiny. I mean, actually, this part of the building goes to the corner, so there are more apartments above it on this side, and there's actually another storefront. But Russo's does not own this building, which is a rarity for something that's been in business since 1908. And I'm going to tell you why they don't own the building. Because Russo's used to be located right here, where this school is now. What happened was, in 1908, they owned a building, and they had their little cheese shop, and they made their own mozzarella cheese, fresh every day, which they still do today. We're gonna peek down in the basement and see if their Jimmy is the guy who usually makes the mozzarella every day. I'll see if he's down in the basement making mozzarella. But they used to make it right here in their store, which they still do today. They used to smoke. They used to sell their own smoked mozzarella. They'd smoke it in a barrel on the street, like literally on the street.
Right.
And what happened was, one day the city came along to them and they said, you know, Mr. Russo, we're going to take away your building because we decided to build a school right where you are. And that was the end of them owning their building.
Eminent domain.
It's called eminent domain. Now, that's something that the city does still to this day. If there's a piece of property that they want for a public purpose, meaning like a park or a school or something like that city owned, they have the right to do so. They have to pay you, you know, whatever the market rate is, but you don't have a say in it. You have to give up your building. So the Russos were very upset, obviously, because, you know, they were doing well, and you know, they were the only mozzarella and cheese shop around, and thank God they found this space across the street. However, the building wasn't for sale. They had to rent it. And to this day, luckily, an Italian family still owns this property, and they've been very good to Russo's, meaning like they haven't raised the rent to such a ridiculous amount that they've been forced to close. I mean, you know, they're paying a lot more than they used to, but it's still affordable. However, Jacques Kangemi, who is the owner now, he took over from his great aunt, who founded Russo's. Jack told me that if the owner, you know, it's like an older Italian gentleman, you know, if he ever passes away and maybe his kids aren't interested in, you know, owning the building anymore and they want to sell it, that he's probably going to have to close because he really can't afford to relocate. The rents in this neighborhood have gotten very, very, very expensive. And plus, he really needs to be located right at this spot where he is now, because like I was saying before, it used to be a big Italian neighborhood. Really, the only Italian places left in the neighborhood are this place, Russo's, Venero's Pasticceria next door, and they have and also, well, Bella Tile is closed, but there's a Italian restaurant on 12th Street, which is John's of 12th Street. It's an Italian restaurant, also from the early 1900s. They all have like a symbiotic relationship, like, you know, people go to Russo's and they'll get their pasta and they'll get their homemade mozzarella, and then they'll go right next door to Venero's to get their pastries, and vice versa. So if Jack Kangemi was forced to move, the business would never survive. So that's definitely the number one reason why these small businesses close. And this one is a gem. Let's see if Jimmy is down in the basement. I'm gonna go see if he's down there. Hold on, guys. They know me here, so I wouldn't do this if they didn't know me. Jimmy, are you down there making cheese? Are you making cheese now? Oh, they're not making cheese right now. Oh, okay. All right. Can I show everybody? This is where they make the cheese. They have a big vat, but Jimmy's not here making the cheese right now. They made it this morning already. Okay, so that's where they make the cheese in the big vats. But let's go in. Let's go in, and we're gonna show you. Come on, everybody. We'll go in. Yeah, they know me in here, so it's not like, hey guys. I have a little walking tour that I'm just showing a couple of people. I want to show you your fabulous place. So this is it. You could see the original tin ceiling up here. And doesn't it smell amazing? Like you smell all the fresh cheeses, all their pastas that they make. When they first started out, they only sold 2 types of pasta, which was just ravioli. They sold meat ravioli and cheese-filled ravioli. Now they have many different types of pastas. Homemade sauces, still using Jack Cangemi's family's recipe. Here's more pasta. And they make fresh mozzarella. Let me see if they could show us a ball of mozzarella. You have a ball that you can show us and pick up and show us? There it is. He's going to show it to us. That's their fresh mozzarella right there. See, it's fresh. And you can still see it's warm. They made it this morning. And it is so delicious. Plus, this is a little hack that I like to tell people about. If you don't want a whole thing of mozzarella, you can come here for lunch and you can get an amazing sandwich. Our favorite, you can see, there they are, Russo sandwiches, is the caprese. Fresh mozzarella, roasted peppers, sun-dried tomatoes, basil, and olive oil. So it's even vegetarian friendly, which is really, really, really nice to know. And, of course, Hudson loves their fresh sausages. They've got many different types of olives, extra good. And the bread that they use right here is from a local bakery. So this is it. This is the place. It's a tiny little place in a nutshell. We're gonna leave because it's getting crowded in here, and they're trying to keep, with social distancing, not that many people. But oops, you got it, Marty? Jimmy can always help you.
Oh, I got the door.
But isn't it fabulous in there? Wow. Thank you, guys. Yeah, it smells amazing. I wish, guys, that I can convey the smell to you. And yeah, you smell the cheese. I mean, they make it literally fresh every single day. And they really struggled during the pandemic because, I mean, we didn't leave. We stayed here. We didn't go anywhere. We were here the whole time. But so many people left the neighborhood that, I mean, I was really, honestly, really worried about them. Thank God they made it through this difficult time because they also supply a lot of fresh mozzarella to restaurants all around the city. And because the restaurants weren't doing well either, they lost a lot of their business, not only from walk-in customers, but from the restaurants too. So, if you guys need a great place to buy fresh pasta, fresh mozzarella, this is it on East 11th Street. Yeah, the signage is awesome, right? The picture of Russo's is in our book, Storefront, The Disappearing Face in New York. That's our first Storefront book. And right next door, without further ado,
I want to go to the other side.
Yeah, but I want to show the neon sign from here, is Venero's Pasticceria. So come on, guys, we'll get out of the way of Russo's and we'll move on down here, kind of like out of the way. And I'll tell you the whole history of Venero's Pasticceria. Now, guys, on the live chat, I'm sorry that I'm not really answering many questions, but because I'm doing a walking tour, I'm not going to be able to answer really many of your questions. But if you leave a comment, I will be sure to look at all the comments later on, maybe tomorrow or the next day. I don't know if I'll get to it tonight, but I will get to them and I will read every single comment and I will comment back to you guys. So just remember that I'm not ignoring you. It's just that, I'm giving a walking tour, so I can't answer all your questions right now. But let's talk about Venero's. Now, Venero's has been in business since 1894. And remember how I said, like, one of the reasons we got interested in the stores was the story behind them? When we went inside and we interviewed the present owner, who's 4th generation, it was his great uncle, Antonio Venero, came from Italy, founded this pasticceria in 1894. It is the oldest pasticceria in New York City. People think that Ferrara's, which is in the Little Italy in Manhattan, is older, but it's not, because Ferrara's did not start as a pasticceria. They are older in the year that they got founded, but they were founded as an espresso store. They did not sell pastries in the beginning. So this is the only place that was a true pasticceria from the very, very start. And Antonio Venero, what he did is he founded the business based on, really, he had a lot of family and he had a lot of friends from Italy that lived in the neighborhood, and they needed a place to hang out. He had a background in baking, so when he came here, he started serving espresso, and he served his homemade watermelon candy. That's what he specialized in. And what he did was, this watermelon candy that they made, they don't make it here anymore. It was very particular in that they used fresh watermelon to make it, and he only needed the rind to make the watermelon candy, not the fruit, not like the part that we eat. So the place became famous because he used to give the watermelon, like the pulp, the part we want to eat, free to all the kids in the neighborhood. And they would come home with these giant, basically carrying the innards of the watermelon, and their mom and dad would be like, "Where are you getting this free watermelon from?" And then they would tell them, "Oh, it's from Venero's. Antonio gave it to us." And they said, "Well, what is he doing with the rest of it?" And they were curious, and that's how that became the popularity of Venero's. It was just because he was giving away, he was free samples, but not really, because it was something that he wasn't even using. So it was like being green in so many ways, right? I mean, who would think that somebody was being green in the 1890s, right?
And he got the place electricity,
right.
The whole neighborhood.
The other funny story that we learned from Robert Zerilli, who's the fourth generation owner, is that Antonio Venero, when he founded Venero's, he started baking. When he started baking his pastries, he baked them in a coal-fired oven in the basement. Like, this is the entrance to their basement right here, and there's a coal-fired oven in the basement. They no longer use it because of regulations. New York City has very strict regulations on the use of coal-fired ovens now because of pollution, and unless you were continuously using your coal-fired oven from the start, from when it was put into your basement or wherever it's located, usually they're located in the basement of the stores. If you stopped using it for any reason, then you cannot ever refire it again. So they are not using it anymore. They moved their baking operation. They still have it in the basement, but they also bake upstairs here on the second floor. And we've toured, right. And Antonio Venero bought the building and the adjoining building. So it's actually two buildings that they own. And that is the key of why their business is still here today, because he was smart enough in the 1890s to invest in the building. And
electricity.
This is the other story. So when they were founded, they cooked from this coal-fired oven all their pastries, fresh cannoli, fresh sfogliatelle, the amazing cheesecake. We'll go inside in a second and I'll show you. It's part of it. It's original interior with the ceiling and the hand-laid tiles on the floor. But Robert told us, he's like, "Oh, you want to hear an interesting story? My great uncle is the one who got electricity for this whole neighborhood." And I'm like, "Well, what do you mean, Robert?" And he's like, "Well, what happened is the bakery really started taking off. Like, it really became popular in the neighborhood, and it was very labor intensive to do everything by hand, because this is before electricity. 1894, there was no electricity. They used like gas-fired lamps, to light the basement, and he's busy churning everything by hand, like the dough and rolling it all." And he walked to a neighboring neighborhood, which is called Gramercy Park. It's a little bit north and west of here, and since its founding, Gramercy Park has been a very rich neighborhood. It was founded by Thomas Ruggles, who developed it like in the sense of the way things were done in England as a developed community where you'd get keys to a private park. So he put townhouses, expensive townhouses, surrounding a park, and he gave everybody a key to the park if they lived in one of the townhouses. So there was always a very wealthy place. And they were one of the first to get electricity in all of New York City. Oh, look at Hudson. Look at him turning on the charm. He's like, Karla, you're taking too long with the story, and I was hoping for a cannoli. Right. Okay, no shaking, no shaking. So Antonio Venero saw that neighboring Gramercy Park got electricity, and he was like, wow, I really could use electricity, because then I can get some of these electric things like a dough retarder, to help mix his dough and everything like that, all the things that he needed for a successful business, because it was getting really labor intensive to do everything by hand. And he's like, wow, I'd really like some electricity. And he called up Con Ed. Hey, how are you? Thanks for stopping. He called Con Ed, because that's who supplies electricity to New York City. And he said, listen, I saw that nearby Gramercy Park has electricity. When are you planning to give it, to my neighborhood? And they said, oh, no. You guys don't need electricity. You're a poor neighborhood. You're doing fine with your candles and your gas-powered lights. The electricity is not for you. However, if you find 40 local business people to sign a petition that you require electricity for your neighborhood, then we'll think about giving you electricity. So Antonio heard this, and a little light bulb, this is before, he had a light bulb, went off in his head, and he said, oh, okay, it's Friday. Guess who I'm having for my Sunday dinner? All my relatives. And guess what? Big Italian family, all his relatives. The Sunday night dinner, they all had their own little businesses. There goes his 40 signatures. No problemo. Banged them out in one Sunday night dinner. He marched right back on Monday morning to Con Ed. He showed them his 40 signatures, and lo and behold, he got electricity not only for his business, but for the whole entire grid of the East Village. And when we heard that story, we couldn't believe it. We're like, oh my God. And it's true. It's honestly true. So let's go inside Venero's. If there's a little line to buy things now, but the owner knows we're coming, so we're just gonna kind of barge in, but we won't cut the line of buying anything now. One of our people on our tour, Michael, already partook. He already went inside Venero. What did you get, Michael, by the way?
I got 2 pistachio cannolis and a chocolate eclair.
And how was it?
They were fantastic.
Extra good. That's the catchphrase. All right. So let's go. Let's just go in. We're not gonna cut the line. We're just going to show somebody, the interior. We're not trying to cut the line. Oh, perfect. What we'll do is we'll go in the out. We'll kind of be troublemakers. So come on back with me.
I thought you were with the guy. No. I didn't know that.
So this, guys, is the original part of Venero's. You see the hand-laid tile floor. Look at that. It's the penny tile. It's all hand-laid by Italian artisans. They have the ceiling's been redone to look like the original, tin ceiling, but it's, more or less the same. The back, if you can see this, wait, I'm going to come around this way. This cabinetry, the wood cabinetry in the back, is all the original wood cabinetry from when they were displaying their pastries from long ago. And since then, they expanded, and they made a whole eating area, cafe. They have a coffee area. Oh, thank you, Marjolaine. 50 euros for snacks and drinks for all the tour walkers. Oh my God, that's so sweet. Now we'll have to wait online and get a ticket because you sent that for us. That's very sweet, Marjolaine. I thank you so much for that. But I want to show you, this is Robert Zerilli's. Do you see that in the back? The picture of the gentleman? Yes, that was Robert Zerilli's dad. May he rest in peace. And he passed the business on to Robert, and Robert is the one who said, you know what, let me expand and make a sit-down cafe. And they also serve liquor. So, you know, they can stay open late. He was the one who got a liquor license for it. It was a big deal because of the school across the street, because you have to be a certain amount of distance from the school. But remember, they were here before the school was here. So they were able to somehow, because of that, kind of like get grandfathered into the rule, and we're able to get a liquor license. But their stuff is fabulous. Guys, I'm going to show you. I want to show you our favorite of all favorite things, the cheesecake. Look at that. Now, you're not supposed to do this. I'm doing this because I'm friends with the owner. So I can go around, and there's Robert right there. Robert! Can we say hi? I have for 1 second. You guys get to meet Robert. Yeah. Guys, we have a special treat. The 4th generation owner, Robert, is here today, and he said he's going to say hi to us real quick. And maybe we can get, since we'll kind of cut the line, maybe I'll ask Robert, we'll give him, would everybody like a little mini cannoli?
I would absolutely love that.
Okay, do you want vanilla or chocolate? Robert,
Vanilla.
We're live streaming, we're doing a special walking tour of the East Village, and of course we had to come here. I already explained the whole story, showed them the portrait of your dad, about how...
You already showed him my dad with Sinatra with the...
Oh, we didn't see the...
That's a different one.
I know, we'll get to that one.
Right.
But guys, this is Robert. We have 4 tour members
everybody.
today. Hudson's outside with James.
Famous Hudson.
Yes, of course, the cannoli eating Hudson.
Yeah, he
Now,
eats everything.
true that, he loves the Regina cookies. Robert knows. Now, Robert, they're so happy to meet you. I was telling them the story how Antonio got electricity to the whole neighborhood. I was telling, do we still have that picture with the coal-fired oven? Do you still have that around?
That's a good question. Let me look.
All
I
right.
know it's around somewhere. Let's see if I can grab it. That is cool.
Oh, thank you, thank you. It keeps the camera straight. Oh, wait, here's one of the photos. That's an old photo. You can see the back counter is the same. Heidi and Ellie Sapella just gave us 10 euro super sticker. Thank you so much, Heidi. That's so sweet of you. I wish you could be here with us. I know that you're far away. And Marjolein too in the Netherlands. We wish you could be here with us, but you're here in spirit. Oh, you found it? Oh, of course. There's the coal-fired oven, guys. Look, I'm going to show you
We had
guys
to relieve
on
its
the live
duties back in 1994. So unfortunately,
Yeah, in 1994 is when they stopped using the coal-fired
that
oven.
was the 100th anniversary.
They-
I know, it's almost like an injustice to say it had to go, but it had to go.
Right, but I mean, now they have a very modern baking operation, and we've toured it and taken pictures of it. It's amazing. Now, Robert, there's a longer line, and I'm
Yes.
wondering if you don't mind, and I'll
Yes.
give you the cash for it, if we could get mini cannolis for everybody in our group, and I will
right.
pay you for it. And I don't mean to cut the line, but I'm cutting the line.
Yes, at least 40 cannolis.
No, we're 4 people, and then 1 for me and James, so 6 altogether. Did anybody want chocolate? Vanilla is fine. Everybody likes vanilla. We'll make it easy. All the same. Okay. Because Hudson can't have chocolate, so that's why we don't do chocolate cannoli. We have to think of Hudson. Now, guys, they also, if you watched on my we live stream for my.
Sorry.
Oh my God, Robert! Thank you so much. Can I give it to you later?
Later.
How much do I owe you?
Are we still filming?
Yeah, we're still filming. Okay.
We'll
I'm
talk later.
gonna pay him later. Don't worry, guys. Here it is. We're gonna go outside now. Thank you, Robert. I will. Guys, I'm gonna show you some of the other delectables that they have. Just real quick. There's all the cannolis. That's what we got. Tarts. Oh, you got the Frank Sinatra picture?
Too Cheech, I love your pastries, but you're killing me. Frank
Look at
Sinatra.
that. Too Cheech, I love your pastries, but you're killing me.
Thanks. And
You're
that's
killing
an original
me.
autograph, not a fake Fugazi.
Right.
It's like a lot of people have those.
And wait a minute. Another famous customer, but I don't think there's a picture, is Enrico Caruso. We don't have that one.
Recent though, Joni Mitchell, to me.
Oh,
Joni, yeah.
extra good. Oh, look at that. Oh, she's got the ricotta cheesecake. Yes. See, guys, this is the Sicilian cheesecake. This is ricotta cheese. And it's different than the American cheesecake, which they also have here. So they have both, the Sicilian ricotta cheesecake. All right, thank you, Robert. All right, guys, this was extra special. And there's all their cookies back there, too. I didn't even get to show you, but I'll show you in the window. Okay, here's their cookies, some of them. Amazing, amazing, amazing cookies. All right, guys. Marjolaine, Heidi, and Anneli Sapella, this is for you.
No.
Robert was there.
Robert, yeah,
See?
I was just talking.
We have a special treat, cannoli for Hudson, and cannoli for everybody on the tour.
Cannoli time.
Cannoli time. So let's go right here. Guys, who wants to unveil the cannolis for everyone?
I'll unveil
Okay,
the
Michael's going to do the unveiling of the cannoli and give Hudson one too. All right, we're going to get a picture. Oh, look
at
what he
those.
gave us with the pistachios. Oh my God, extra good.
Thank you for
Okay, Hudson.
Okay, wait, James, hold this now.
All right, put
I'll
me in,
hold
coach.
Hudson. We're going to break it in half. So he doesn't
Hold him
just-
tight.
You know, so he can enjoy it a
Hey,
little
guys.
bit.
Right.
Saturday
And
afternoon,
ask for paw.
East Village.
Okay, paw.
You got
Oh,
both paws.
both paws.
Both paws.
There you go.
Oh,
He
in it,
loves it. He loves
going
it.
in.
Okay.
What do you think?
Paws again.
Right paw? Left paw. Right, that's right paw. Give your
Left
left
paw.
paw.
Oh, here.
Left paw. Good boy.
All right.
Okay, down the hatch. Down the hatch.
Hudson
All right.
gets first
now
taste.
I'll take him away so everyone else can enjoy their cannolis.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so extra nice.
Piece
of
of
being
broccoli
able to
for
meet
me.
Robert.
I got my broccoli.
Right.
No,
All right, now I'm going to have a cannoli.
Carla's gonna have one. You may have to twist my arm. I can maybe do it.
All right, guys. Cannoli going in.
Going in. Hey, Robert Parker, $20. Need to know how I can get involved in your walking tours. Robert, Carla will give you all the information on that. Yeah, the tail's going like mad here. Yeah, I'll have.
Guys,
I got it. Oh.
extra, extra good.
I think the
Okay,
ratio
all
is
right.
smaller like this.
Hudson wants more cannoli.
That was broccoli.
James?
No, that was broccoli. I pretended to bite the cannoli, but
This is broccoli, guys, we'll say. Ready? Here we go.
hey, Norman Ross.
Yeah, the big one was just too much. But the smaller ones, yeah, I should.
Yeah, guys, this is the mini cannoli. So it's perfect for Hudson. I mean, he would take the big size cannoli too. But the cannolis come in two sizes. This is
Right.
their mini one, which I like because it's nice bite size for when you're doing a walking tour.
Anybody want a second?
Yes.
Does anybody want a second?
All right, we'll save it for
Don't be-
later. Jim's like, oh, Hudson's like, I do.
I'm trying to be polite, you know.
All right, Hudson, we'll save this for later, okay?
All right, let's.
Like every dog that's shaking is like.
All right, so let's move on. We got more on just on this one. Oh my God!
Hudson.
That's bad manners. Bad manners.
Here, I'll take that.
All right. You want me to put it in your backpack?
No, that's gonna slowly
No more,
disappear.
Hudson.
I might sample it. Here you go.
Okay.
I'll take Hudster. Oh no, he's gonna.
Yeah. So let
Maybe
me.
I'll just go ahead with Hudson. I'm just gonna.
You're gonna just take one for the team.
Close to this one.
Yeah. James is gonna take one for the team, and eat the last cannoli, guys. With Hudson, James is furtively eating the last cannoli.
No, I'm not.
Not on camera. So listen, guys, we're not going to stop in here, but I want to point out that there's this street, 11th Street, has a lot of mom and pop businesses, and a lot, if you are like me, who likes going thrift store hunting, this is a great block because there's a couple of thrift stores all in a row. This one's a designer and vintage consignment store, you can see right here. Designer vintage. So this is like expensive stuff. Oh, wait a minute, don't do it yet. Okay. Oh, he caught it. He caught it. This is Buffalo Exchange that has new and recycled fashion, buy, sell, trade. And then there's another one right here. So there's like a couple right in a row. Is that empty now, James? Because
It's
you're
empty. I'm gonna get rid of it.
Hudson thinks that there's more cannolis in the box. Oh, this is ridiculous. Oh, look at this. The grooming salon. Now, we're very lucky that we have a short-haired dog that we don't need to partake in the grooming salon, but it is a very cute little grooming salon. But here's another vintage right here, Odin. And it's kind of cool because all right in a row, there's 3 vintage stores. Hi, how are you? See, they all know Hudson. He's the star of the neighborhood. You know, oh, thank you. See, they're saying, yes, he is the star of the neighborhood. Everybody knows Hudson. He's still looking at the cannoli box, guys. Look at this, guys.
It's all done.
Look at this. His head is in the cannoli box. He's getting,
All right.
oh my God, he's getting every little pistachio piece that was in the box. All right, now James, you can take him and
We'll stop here and then we gotta.
right. Our next stop is a wonderful. I'll give that to Casey in a second, James. Is a wonderful, wonderful shop. This is Casey's Rubber Stamps, and it's owned by Mr. Casey. He's an immigrant from Ireland, and he founded the shop in the 1970s, and he makes his own rubber stamps. And I have a special gift for everyone that's on the walking tour. James, give me that box. I'm gonna just dismantle the box because I gotta give everybody on the walking tour a special gift.
All right.
Hudson, the box is gone. Look,
You won't forget it.
the box. The box is now in my bag. It's away, out of sight, out of mind. Now I want to tell you something about Mr. Casey's stamps, and I have a gift for everyone who's on the tour today. Did you see if I can find it buried in the sea of my stuff in my bag?
Thanks for hanging out with us, everyone.
All right, here we go. Guys, we had, not only do they sell thousands of rubber stamps that are all made by hand by Mr. Casey, and it's a real label, they custom make stamps. And we had Hudson's autograph. What we did is we went inside and Hudson put his paw print on one of these big stamp pads, and then he made his little mark on a piece of paper. Mr. Casey scanned it, and there it is. This is
Immortalized.
Actual. It's his. Which paw was that?
The right front.
Right front paw. So I got a gift for you guys. You each. I did it already for you. Not only do you get a sticker, but you get a photograph from Hudson and a Pizza King sticker.
Suitable for framing.
Oh wait, you have. James, show everybody
Oh,
the photograph.
I gotta zoom in on it. Yeah. Someone asked me to zoom in. There it is. And show the wooden block again.
Yeah, I'm gonna show I made sure I pre-stamped enough for everybody,
Thank you.
so that way we wouldn't
Thanks.
have to, use his actual paw print. But this is
That's it there.
this is what Mr. Casey made for us. And then we also, we also bought. He sells the ink pads and inside. So we'll go inside.
Yes,
and
Nikki,
we'll
we
check it
do.
out because it's a fabulous store. It's not expensive to get a custom stamp done.
Photograph.
We call it the photograph. This is all the info. See, all our stamps are molded from real, James, can you come closer?
Yep.
Natural rubber. This is how much it is. So it's like, depend on the square inch, you pay by the square inch. So it's very reasonable. So
turn
a
it
1
over.
square inch stamp is only $20.
Custom,
A
yeah.
I mean, that's small, with just 1 square inch. This was bigger, but it's very reasonable for something that's, you can get like your own business logo, you can get really whatever you want. You can make your own design. If you can draw it, he can make it. That's kind of the motto. So let's go inside and say hi to Mr. Casey, because it's really amazing inside.
Here, I'm tangled. Just grab it slowly. Just grab it slowly. Thanks.
Hi, John. How are you? I was just showing everyone. I have a little walking tour of 4 people. Yeah, you heard me, right? I was showing everybody the portograph. Yes, they love it. So, guys, let me show you the store inside. Look at all these stamps. Everything is good?
As good as could be expected under the circumstances.
Excellent. Look, Marjolaine, I know you'd love this one, the Cheshire Cat. They have the whole Allison.
There's more than 2 people in here.
Yes. He tried to limit the amount of people in here because it's very small.
No more than 50 people at a time.
No more than 50 people at a time. See? And every letter of the alphabet, but any stamp that you want, any design, he can make it for you. And he has all these different colored inks too. I mean, I use the black for Hudson's portograph, but you can get every color. I mean, there's every animal imaginable. You see all the doggos? And they make everything right here in the store. And we have a video where we showed the process of Hudson's rubber stamp being made. They even have a pizza stamp and a New York sewer. There's a pizza. Look, it's like this. So it's the pizza rat. You can get a pizza stamp, you can get a rat, and then you can get the sewer, and you're set. What do you think, John? Isn't that perfect? They can get those 3 stamps. They're set. And look, this is one of their most popular sellers, and Mr. Casey never understands why this is such a popular seller, but it's the cat playing the fiddle. It's a very popular seller, right? You can never figure it out, but it.
Half the stamps I have no idea why people like them.
Right, that's what Mr. Casey says. He can't figure it out.
Mr. Casey.
Where's your little kitty?
I will lock the bedroom because she wants to go out the door.
Oh, he has a little cat, but she's an escape artist, so she's locked in the bathroom right now. Oh, look at this, Mr. Casey! I didn't know. I never saw this, John. Look, he has vinyl record one.
I have lots of things that I don't even know I have myself.
Just see that? Oh, we're gonna have to come back and get a vinyl record stamp. That will be great. But this is an amazing shop. If you ever need a gift for someone that you don't know, like, you have friends or family members and it's like literally they have everything and you don't know what to get them, you can get them. I mean, everybody could use rubber stamps in their life. I mean, that's what I say. I think that's a good motto. Thank you, John.
You know.
Yeah, isn't this the most wonderful store?
That's so cool.
Yeah, isn't it great? And like a lot of people don't even realize that it's here because it's on this little side street and they have the funniest sign. Wait a minute, I'm going to show you something. Open. Closed when not open. Open when not closed. We are child, dog, and eccentric friendly. And you could also contact Mr. Casey on the internet, www.caseyrubberstamps.com. And I want to tell you something. When the neighborhood was bad, look what he did. Drug dealers, please take note that we do not allow our images to be used on drug bags. He will not make rubber stamps for drug bags. That is a rule that he put in place in the 80s when the neighborhood was full of drug dealers. And he still holds true to that rule today. Well, I mean, like, it's like they use, for their little baggies and stuff. He knows. Mr. Casey's, he's wise to them.
He's got the street smart.
He's got the street smarts, right? I mean, listen, he's from Ireland. He's survived a lot. Guys, the clouds are darkening. Wish us luck that it doesn't start pouring on us. Closed, open sign is New York logic. Love it. Exactly, Phyllis. Yeah, it's a really awesome place. And you're supporting a mom and pop business. They make everything by hand. It couldn't be better. Now, I want to show you, when I say about the character of the neighborhood changing, I just want to show you, this is a newer building. And you see, to me, I don't know, I love myself this. An old tenement building with the terracotta, and then you look across the street. They knocked down the tenement buildings and they built this. I can guess and say, well, at least it's not that tall. We do have a 7-story cap on the height of new buildings going up, but it doesn't always work that way. So let's move on. We got a lot of places to get to, and well, I got to keep on a time schedule. My goodness. Wow. We only have 40 minutes to make it to our gallery. So I guess I'll have to step up the pace. Guys, James, you can, if we're running late, you can always stay with Marty and get us to the gallery, but I think we'll do fine. We don't have as many stops. 11th Street is just so full of beautiful mom and pop shops that just this one little street takes up a lot of our tour, you know? So now we're going to talk about, unfortunately, some gems that have closed, because our next stop, you're gonna think I'm strange when we stop there. We're like, why on earth is she showing us this? But it's a very historic significance of why we will be stopping here. So guys, right now we're on East 11th Street and we're walking towards 2nd Avenue. We started near the corner of 1st Avenue by Russo's and Venero's Pasticceria, and now we're walking along 2nd Avenue. Our final stop of the day, in case anybody who is listening wants to join us, we're going to be having an artist talk at the gallery that is now showing our storefront photographs, which is called Village Works Gallery. It's at 90 East 3rd Street, and we will be there at 4 p.m. Rain or shine, we will be there. We are walking our way. Right now we're almost to 10th Street. So it's between 1st and 2nd Avenue, 90 East 3rd Street. That's where we'll be at 4 p.m., give or take. We will be there. Is this a birthday wishes site? DJ saying, oh, you mean for rubber stamps? Oh, rubber stamps are always welcome. I have lots of rubber stamps from Mr. Casey. Every time I go in there, I see something that I didn't notice before. So let's be good citizens and we'll wait for the light. We won't be like Commie Carla and cross the street when it's a red light, like I always do. James is always yelling at me for not being a good citizen. This is where we're stopping, guys. This is our very next stop. Now look at this. Look at this. I call this an art installation that we've got. A garbage pail art installation. Somebody left these balloons. I like them. It's like a little art installation. Look, there's a heart too. Do you see the one shaped like a heart? It is.
It's distracted.
Yeah.
Easily distracted. I'm going to make a note.
Yeah. So this is our next stop on our walking tour, guys. And we're looking at a Chase Bank. And you're like, oh my God, why is she stopping at a Chase Bank? And the reason I'm stopping here is this was the site of the original 2nd Avenue Deli. And the only relic that still exists to show you that it was the original site of the 2nd Avenue Deli, and a lot of people don't realize this, are these stars on the sidewalk. This is the Jewish Walk of Fame. Just like Hollywood has a Hollywood Walk of Fame, this is the Jewish Walk of Fame. These are all stars of the Yiddish theater, because 2nd Avenue from 14th Street all the way to Houston Street was the center for Jewish theater, for vaudeville. In fact, you see that Village East down there? Do you see that? They see the movie marquee? Down the block right there, Village East, on the corner, just past 9th Street there. That was originally a Jewish vaudeville theater. And the owner of 2nd Avenue Deli, whose name was Abe Liebewall, he had these stars installed on the sidewalk of all the stars of Jewish theater. The most famous one, and he just most recently passed away, is Fivish Finkel. Right, if you've ever watched, right, he was on Broadway too. He was always he became famous. He grew up in Brownsville in Brooklyn, which a lot of people don't realize. Brownsville had a big Jewish population back in the early 1900s. And Fivish Finkel, at the age of 5, or 7, or so, yes, James is recalling 7.
He was supporting his family.
He was a great singer, and he got a job in the Jewish vaudeville, and he basically supported his whole family. Like, he was the breadwinner of his family, because I mean, back then, you know, they didn't have any money, and and then the Great Depression hit, and that's it. It was him and his singing that, you know, he wanted to stop, and they're like, no, you can't stop. You're.
He tells a story.
Yeah.
Just saw an ad in the back of the paper.
Right.
For a child actor.
Right, and his father.
And Fivish was like, I'm not a child actor, and he's like, now you are a child actor.
Right, exactly. Go sing for them.
Like,
yeah, so that's it.
That's how he got his start.
And there's a lot of beautiful stars here. Now, unfortunately, what happened was the Second Avenue Deli was forced to close. In I believe it was in 2006 when the rent was raised from $10,000 a month to $20,000 a month. They doubled the rent. Now, even $10,000 a month is a lot of money back in 2006, but it is a big storefront. It goes from here all the way to where that gray stops. Of course, it didn't look like this. It was refronted, but they were forced to close. But prior to them being forced to close, a tragic incident happened involving the owner, Abe Lieberwald. He was a couple of years before they had that rent increase. He was closing up shop for the night, and he had a big bag of cash with him, and he was going to a nearby bank, because at the time, what you would do, that's before ATMs, you would take your bag of cash, and there was like a lock, you'd get a key, and you would just deposit the cash into like a little, you know, like a swing door that you would unlock for after hours, and then you would leave it there and they would count it in the morning. And I guess, I don't know if it was somebody that had watched him previously and saw that he would make these deposits at night, but they were waiting for him to lock up, and they basically, you know, killed him right in front of the place and, you know, stole his cash. To this day, they still have not found the killer. And in fact, they named the park across the street, that's St. Mark's Church in the Bowery, by the way, that you just heard the bells. That is the oldest continuously operating church in New York City. A lot of people think it's Trinity Church downtown, but Trinity Church was rebuilt. It's not the original church. It was destroyed by a fire. A lot of Lower Manhattan had terrible fires many years ago. But this church is the original structure and still standing and always continuously operating as a church. So it's actually the oldest continuously operating, same spot, same building, etc., church. It was built by Peter Stuyvesant, who was the Dutch Governor General of New York. That's when New York was a Dutch colony, not an English colony or an independent state like it is now. So across the street is Abe Lieberwald Park. They named the park in his name after Abe Lieberwald was tragically killed. So we always like to point out Second Avenue Deli because it was known for its AKA Jewish penicillin, which is the matzo ball soup, as well as pastrami sandwiches, corned beef sandwiches, and other delicious items. The family did reopen Second Avenue Deli, but not here in the East Village. There's actually 2 locations. They reopened in Midtown, and they reopened one on the Upper East Side now too. So you can still get their food, but to us it's not the same experience as it was, you know, coming here to the original location. Yeah, R.I.P. Abe, exactly. Marion, I didn't see it. Marion is in the chat. Marion, I hope you're feeling better.
You can see what's going on.
So guys, this is our next stop, and everybody who's watching the live chat now, you might recall this next stop. We're gonna just stop here because the light's changing, and it's easier to see from across the street. This is Veselka. Now, Veselka is a Ukrainian comfort food diner, and it's been getting a lot of press lately because of what's been happening in Ukraine. The owner is donating. It's now the 3rd generation owner, Jason Bouchard. He's donating all the sales of their borscht to help the people of Ukraine. So whenever you buy a couple of bowl of borscht, whether it's for eat-in, takeout, or even they deliver, I believe, through Gold Belly, they're donating the 100% of their proceeds to the people of Ukraine. And we're actually doing something similar. We're going to be stopping at our gallery. We have a print of Veselka that we're selling, and 100% of the proceeds from the sale of the prints also go to the people of Ukraine. We teamed up with Veselka, so the same people that they're giving their money to, which is a nonprofit called Raisam Ukraine, they guided us to where to give the proper money. Oh, this is Hudson's friend Thea. Oh my God, Cleo. This is Hudson's girlfriend. Her name is Cleo. She lives across the hall from us. They love each other, as you can see. Cleo is shaking as well. Hudson's not supposed to shake because of his ear, but he doesn't listen. He's like, I'm doing my thing, that's my girlfriend. I mean, I don't know if she thinks of Hudson as a boyfriend, or more of a dad, because, you know, we're not really sure of their relationship. Oh, here comes the rain. Guys, let's take shelter under, right. Oops, guys, the rain has started. I'm going to cross the street illegally. We're going to go underneath the Ukrainian national home. Then I could get out an umbrella. So hold on, guys. We're not stopping the live stream. We continue on, rain or shine. Okay, here we are. Thank goodness. Then we can all get out our umbrellas when it's safe. Poor Hudson. Hudson hates the rain. I have his rain jacket. Don't you worry, guys, in the live chat. I have his rain jacket. We are prepared for the rain. There's the Chrysler building in the distance, by the way, guys. I'm going to zoom in. There we go. There's the Chrysler building. We don't let rain stop our fun. It's just some rain. So we're going to stand under here for just a second. We're right near the corner of 9th Street, the home of Veselka. Veselka was founded in 1954, and that's actually the same year that 2nd Avenue Deli was founded. 2nd Avenue Deli was also founded in 1954. But just like 2nd Avenue Deli, like they had that rent increase of $10,000 to $20,000, why they're forced to close. Veselka also, even though they've been in business since 1954, they do not own the building that they're located in. But they have a good relationship with the owners, because the owners of the building are actually Ukrainian Boy Scouts. And when I tell that to people, they're like, what in the world is Ukrainian Boy Scouts? Oh, these little boys dressed in a little uniform own this, big building here? And no, it's not little boys in a uniform. It's a lot of, there's some little boys in it, but it's a group of older men, Ukrainians, that founded this, group many, many years ago. And the original owner of Veselka, his name was Vladimir Darmashel, was part of the Ukrainian Boy Scouts. And they wrote into the lease that he can always stay there as a tenant. So that being said, we don't want to jinx it in any fashion, their arrangement. Some people are surprised to hear that they don't own the building, but thankfully they have a good relationship with the building owners, which is the Ukrainian Boy Scouts. And the interesting thing about Veselka is that when it was founded in 1954, it was not a restaurant like it is today. It was founded as a newsstand. It was newsstands, kind of like we have pictures in our book. We'll show you at the gallery of kind of like Gem Spa used to be, which were also another newsstand that's closed. But they sold newspapers, candy, cigarettes, lotto tickets. But the owner was from Ukraine, and he always served Ukrainian food in the back of the newsstand. What he did is he hired a couple of babushkas, as he likes to call them, from the neighborhood, and they would make homemade borscht and pierogies for him, and him and his cronies would eat there. So he wasn't really selling the food, but what happened was Tom Bouchard, he was dating Vladimir Darmashel's daughter in college. They went to college. Oh God, it's really coming down now, guys. The rain is really strong. Thank God we're underneath this awning. Yeah. And Vladimir Domichel unfortunately suffered a heart attack, and he abruptly passed away in the 1970s when Tom Burchard started work. Oh my God. Guys, heaven is opening up. Hudson is rubbing his face on my pants.
Yeah, it's like not warm enough.
Guys, the temperature must have dropped by like, what, 20 degrees? What's the current temperature?
Yeah, it's suddenly freezing.
James is going to be looking at his Apple Watch. Oh wait, James, somebody's trying to come out. Why they want to come out and go out in the rain, I have no idea.
I would stay in there.
Yeah, I would stay inside. It's raining.
It's warmer in the.
Yeah,
It's raining.
it's warming, and there's thunder now. There's thunder and lightning. Be careful. The sky is angry. Exactly, George
Did you hear
Lopez.
the thunder in there?
Yeah, it's real thunderstorm.
Oh,
No,
I'm
no,
good.
we're.
He'd love to, but
Yes,
you know.
he would love to and have a pierogi.
He'll cause
Oh, so
mayhem.
what is the current temperature, James? What's?
Yeah, I got. Hang on.
Hang on, guys. James is doing a temperature check for everyone.
Here it is. New York, it says 52.
It says 52 degrees. I don't think that's correct. It feels a lot colder,
Yeah, the
guys.
rain is just about coming through.
Yeah. So,
52, going to be 48.
at any rate, let's continue on the story of Veselka. Tom Burchard was dating Vladimir Domichel's daughter. Mr. Domichel suddenly passed away in the 1970s while Tom was earning some extra money by working at the newsstand. And suddenly he was faced with the decision of like, okay, the family said, yeah, you're now part of the family, you take over. You know, like he's still in college dating the girlfriend, and they said, now the place is yours. And he's like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? So he finished school and he decided to turn Veselka from a newsstand into a restaurant because he thought the future of the place was not in selling like penny candy and lotto tickets and newspapers, but in Ukrainian food, because Tom Burchard wasn't Ukrainian himself, but his father-in-law was, and he fell in love with the Ukrainian food. He felt like, okay,
It was seriously not raining when I walked in here.
this is the future of this place. And thank God he made that decision back in the 1970s to start transitioning from a newsstand, because Veselka would not have survived today if it hadn't been for the amazing food. To this day, they still serve homemade borscht, pierogies. In fact, they have 4 full-time women who make 4,000 pierogies a week. All full-time. All they do is work downstairs in the basement making pierogies. We've taken pictures of it. It's amazing. And they sell around 5,000 gallons of borscht a year. So they're famous for those, but they also have all other types of great Ukrainian food. So if you're looking for a place to get some authentic Ukrainian food, Veselka's it. We've live streamed from there. We had their borscht. We had some pierogies. It was extra good. They also get their meat, and we're going to stay here, and we're going to just look at it across the street from Meat Market Basinski. You see that across the street, guys? I'm going to zoom in. There you go. There's it. It's partially covered by a UPS truck. Of course, you can't see the entire storefront. But right across the street is a Basinski's Meat Market. That was also founded in the 1970s, and that's a Ukrainian meat market. They make their own homemade kielbasa there, and it's amazing smelling. I mean, it's not raining that hard anymore. Should we run across the street to show them Basinski's? Because you'll smell it from across the street. We'll wait for the light. We'll stay here underneath the awning. And, oh, Hudson, don't shake, sweet boy. Do we need to put Hudson's rain jacket on? Okay, guys, when the light changes, we're going to go across the street and show you Basinski's. While we're sitting here waiting for the light, I'm going to also point out a very interesting piece of architecture across the street, which is this beautiful terracotta building. You see that? That is the Deutsche Dispensary. That is the first free German hospital in the East Village. In the late 1800s, the East Village had a huge German population, and this dispensary was their free clinic that they built for the local residents. And also, they built the first free public library in all of New York City. It's not the library that you think of, it's this. See, Free Bibliothek Leah Hall. That was a German library. And it's still a public library today. Come on, guys, we'll cross the street because it's green. Yeah, we're not exactly in the crosswalk, so be careful. So here's, this was called Basinski's Meat Market. Mr. Julian Basinski is from Ukraine. May he rest in peace. He passed away during the pandemic. But he left the business to his trusty helper, Andrew Ilnicki, who's still running it today. They make their homemade kielbasa fresh daily. You could see it hanging in the window. I mean, it's not in the window, it's in this display right here, but you could see it from the window. It's amazing. They also serve hot food as well. Let me get an umbrella, guys. Yeah, in between the raindrops. James, can I?
Yep.
I'm gonna get out the umbrella for the.
Okay, for you. Yep. I don't know. I'll look for you. Hey, there's Andrew.
Oh, hi, Andrew. That's the owner, Andrew. Don't worry about that now.
Yep.
I'll look at it.
There
we go. Okay.
I got it.
Oh, Hudson, don't shake, sweet boy.
343.
Okay. So, guys, we're not going to go inside Basinski's right now, but if you ever need homemade kielbasa, they also smoke their own hams. It's really amazing. The line here for Easter, especially the Ukrainian Easter, which is the Orthodox Easter, is like around the block. They're so amazing. But we're gonna continue on now that we're gonna get to our next little stop. Are you okay, Marty?
Yeah. I just wanted to get a picture of it.
Oh yeah, of course. James, we're moving on to our next stop. Oh, Marion just says this $8.99 super sticker. Thank you, Marion. I hope you're feeling well. So guys, this is still a library, but this is now a New York Public Library. It's the Ottendorfer branch. And when you get a chance, if you want to go inside one day, it's a New York Public Library now. They have the original staircase from when it was the German library. And it's a beautiful building, as you can see. This is our next stop. This was the site, this corner of Gem Spa, which was an amazing newsstand / candy store, and it was known for its egg creams. Sadly, they closed during the pandemic, and it was in business since the 1940s. And the Patel family, they weren't the original owners. The original owners were actually a Jewish gentleman. And it's very interesting why they called it Gem Spa. And it's nothing that you would even think about it. But one of the owners was in World War II, and he was stationed overseas, and he fell in love with spas. Like, it's not really something that existed here in New York. So the first name Gem is the initials of the owners, because it was like two people. And then the spa was just because he liked the word spa, because from World War II. So it's kind of right. This became a really famous spot. James and I would always meet people here, because to us it was like the the Times Square or the Grand Central Terminal of the East Village. Like, no matter where you were or where you were going, you'd be like, okay, meet me in front of Gem Spa, because they were open all night. And a lot of, I mean, it has a lot of history with the punk rock movement too, because a lot of people who were playing it on the Bowery at CBGB used to come here and get egg creams. Like James was saying, Jack Kerouac got his egg creams here. Basquiat, Madonna in the movie.
On the back of the New York Dolls initial album.
Right, they use as a back cover. And Desperately Seeking Susan, there's a famous scene where she's getting a newspaper from a, Madonna from, it was from like a little thing on the street, but it was right here in front of Gem Spa. So sadly, they were forced to close. We don't know what's going to take its place. It's kind of an eyesore now. But we're thankful that right next door is still Paul's the Burger Joint. And I don't know if Treatin62 and Ari Sanders are in our chat right now, but Treatin62 and Ari Sanders sent us a surprise dinner last night from Paul's the Burger Joint, and it was extra, extra good. As you see their neon sign, New York City's best burger. They make a half-pound burger. They cook it under a dome. And, oh, there's my friend. Hey! Hi, how are you? Oh, now I have to go inside. James? We're gonna go show you inside. Hi, we're live streaming, so I wanted to show everybody. We got burgers from you last night. See, like they cook it underneath the dome. Let me show you. Is he cooking one now? Oh yeah. Okay, he's not. Okay, he's coming. He's gonna cook a hamburger right now. He's putting it on there. See? And then the dome goes over it. That's how he gets the perfect temperature. And they are amazing. If you ask for medium well, you get medium well. You ask for rare, you get rare. They know exactly. It's a science, guys, and they have it down to a science. So we love you guys. See you soon. Okay. Hello. I'm just getting out of your way. Guys, it smells so delicious in here. Oh, James, you're telling him about Orpheum?
The Orpheum. How
yes.
It's another Yiddish theater.
Yes, this was just like I was telling you about the Jewish Walk of Fame outside the old 2nd Avenue Deli. The Orpheum was a Jewish vaudeville theater too. And now they're playing Stomp, but you see the sign Orpheum on the side? Let me show you guys.
Yeah, you see it. But people argue anything.
It's the oldest continuously operating neon sign in New York City. So let's continue on, Jimmy.
Yep.
So that was great that we got into to say hi to Paul's. They were just putting a burger on the grill. It smells so good. Sweet Pea Dexter saying Hudson must be drooling. Yeah, but don't feel too badly for Hudson because he had a 1.5 cannolis. So don't feel too bad. Guys, I want to point out quickly because we don't have a lot of time to stop, but this is another wonderful place, B&H Dairy Lunch. Like its name, you see B&H Dairy. That's because of Jewish dietary laws. You're not allowed to serve meat, mixed, and dairy. And this was founded in the 1940s, and now they're saying it stands for B&H stands for Better Health, but it actually stood for the first initials of the founders who were Jewish immigrants, and they served always Jewish dairy food, meaning never any meat. They bake their own challah bread, they serve matzah brie, they have omelets and delicious soup, mushroom barley soup. I mean, a really delicious menu, but it's a great place to go if you're vegetarian or vegan because they have a lot of options. And they were vegetarian and vegan before the neighborhood became more vegetarian and vegan. They were always that way, but it was because of the Jewish dietary laws. The interesting thing is it's no longer owned by Jewish people. It's actually owned by an interesting couple, Ola and Fawzi. We're friends with them. Ola is a Christian woman from Poland, and her husband is Fawzi is Muslim, and together they still serve Jewish food, and it's kosher. Like a rabbi comes once a week and certifies that everything is done according to the Jewish dietary laws. They're certified kosher, but ironically it's not owned by anybody Jewish anymore. It's a Muslim Egyptian and a woman from a Catholic from Poland. So it's a kind of a funny twist of fate. And it kind of shows like how the neighborhood has changed. You know, always the East Village has been a melting pot of different ethnic groups, and it's just so lovely to see that this couple is carrying on the tradition of serving Jewish dairy food, but you know, they're not Jewish at all. They just learned all the recipes. So sadly, guys, I want to just point out to you, because this is a brand new building here. This was the site of where if you're a fan of Madonna, in Desperately Seeking Susan, there's a scene in the movie where she stops and she sees in the window a pair of boots, and she trades her jacket that she's wearing for a pair of boots, and that was this store, which was called Love Saves the Day. It was right here. Now, that was before this building went up. Unfortunately, this building was the site of the East Village gas explosion and fire, and the street has now been renamed. I'll show you right here. Moises Locon Way. That's because he was one of the people that was killed, sadly. Oh, I don't need the umbrella anymore. It stopped raining. In the East Village gas explosion and fire. So, may he rest in peace. There's another gentleman that was killed in the explosion as well, who was working at a restaurant. But I wanted to point out the significance of Love Saves the Day. Sadly, this block has had a bit of bad luck because the church across the street was also the site of a fire, and you can see only the front of it remains. We're going to cross the way. We're going to head down 6th Street. But this building also had a big fire, and hopefully the church is going to be rebuilt, but they can only save the front facade, as you can see. This is a mom and pop bakery, Boulanger La Fournier, but before it became to that, it was a famous bakery called Moishes, and it was a Jewish bakery, and we loved it because they had amazing hamantaschen, they had amazing cakes and pastries, but thank God there's still a location on Grand Street where you can go to. Right. Grand by Broadway, East Broadway. Yeah. Guys, it stopped raining, thank goodness. Now I'm going to show you another historic site, guys. If you're into music like James and I are, this building used to be the site of Fillmore East. It's now a supermarket on the ground floor, and NYU owns the entire building, but this is where Fillmore East used to be. It's now a New York University building. But if you're into music, you might recall Fillmore East. This was where it was. Oh, Treaton is in the chat. Treaton, we showed them. I don't know if you saw, if you were in the chat. Well, we stopped and went inside of Paul's the burger joint. So thank you for sending us a dinner last night. It was extra, extra good. This is our next stop, a quick stop before we head back towards our gallery. But this is Block Drugstores. As you can see from the sign, I think we can cross because there's no cars coming, even though, you know, we're technically supposed to stay here. This drugstore has been in business since 1885. Do you see that on the corner there?
Yeah.
It's a wonderful mom and pop drugstore. It also happens to be James and I's drugstore, like where we get our prescriptions filled. It's owned by Carmine Palermo and his wife Beth. They're the second generation owners, and it's an amazing place. Inside, and you could peek inside, are all original cabinetry, plus the gorgeous neon sign. See, I'm just going to show you. Do you see all the back wall, the original cabinetry? Isn't that amazing? And then also there's an old scale. It actually works. Like you can step on the scale and measure, and you put a nickel in, and it measures your weight. Yeah. Oh yeah, you remember it? Oh, awesome. Yeah, those scales are great. But it's so refreshing that a mom and pop drugstore is still in business. Yeah, they give all the money from the scale, still works to this day. They give all the money from the scale to the kids at Halloween. Instead of giving them candy, they give them the money from people using the scale to check their weight. It's still accurate. So, James, we're gonna go across the street now. So we're gonna try to make it. I hope Marty can make it because we only have 6 seconds. If not, we'll wait for you. Oh, RJ Wertheimer saying they used to have those scales on the subway, on the subway platforms years ago. Wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, there was still one at Coit Skimmerhorn.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Michael who's on a part of our walking tour said if you want to see one of those old scales, I doubt it works anymore.
Yeah, I think, but it's kind of buried in there. It's like one day I just randomly came across it while I was waiting for a train.
But it's at the Hoyt Skimmerhorn stop. Guys, it stopped raining. As quick as the rain started, the rain stopped.
You turned them out, yeah?
No, that was such a flash of rain.
Yep, that's what happens in this season.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Monsoon and nothing.
So we're on East 6th Street, guys. East 6th Street was once home to a lot of Indian restaurants. They actually called it like Little India or Indian Row. And there's still a couple of Indian restaurants left, but in the late 1970s to the 80s when the heyday of many Indian restaurants. But unfortunately, because of rising rents and things like that, a lot of them haven't survived. But there's still some here. Like you can see, Raj Mahal, exotic Indian restaurant. But we're going to just stop here just for a second because I want to point out this community synagogue. Even though it says synagogue, this was actually a German Lutheran church. And we'll just wait for the rest of our tour to catch up with us. I think they got caught up at the light. Let me just check. Oh, here come James and Marty. This was the site of the German Lutheran Church who had an outing on the East River where they hired a paddle boat, one of those steam paddle boat, and it was called the General Slocum. What happened was the General Slocum caught fire on the East River, and most of the passengers, including mostly women and children who were members of this German Lutheran church, which was located right here on East 6th Street, perished. And that is why the neighborhood was no longer a big German population, because they were so saddened by the tragic events that happened during General Slocum disaster that they moved out of the neighborhood. So that's why you saw, like the German Free Library and the medical. They all moved uptown to the Upper East Side, centered around 86th and 3rd, and that became like a little Kleindischland. Like this area used to be called Little Kleindischland. So guys, in case you're watching and you plan to join us at our gallery, obviously it's almost 4 o'clock and we're not at the gallery, but we are only 3 blocks away and we're making our way there. So Joey, if you're listening, please calm everybody down. We're not forgetting about our artist talk. We're on our way. We're literally 3 blocks away from you. James, I'm giving a report that we're on our way. You know, the rain threw us off schedule, or it might be because I talk too much. It could be a little bit of both. Guys, there's so many beautiful tenement buildings here. I'm just going to show you some of them along the way as we make our way to First Avenue. That's what so beautiful about this block is the preponderance of these old tenement buildings.
On the Broadway junction, like the J.
Did you get your umbrella? Yeah, I have my umbrella. Thank you, girl in the curl.
And it's like flipping the city and you're kind of taking a train for 10 straight days.
Yeah.
Kind of like it's a bizarre thing. Like even like when they put the trains together, we're the ones that were running on them.
So guys, we crisscrossed back to First Avenue. We're on our way to Village Works Gallery and Bookstore. We're just gonna wait for the rest of our tour because Marty has a cane, so we just have to be careful when, you know, the sidewalks in New York are sometimes really treacherous, so she has to be a little bit more careful of where she walks. And
Did you pay for that app?
you know, sadly, some of the pavement is very uneven, so we're trying to keep our group together. And Hudson, of course. Here's Hudson, bouncing along as usual. There's Hudson, happy that it stopped raining. Hudson's like, I'm ready to go in the gallery now. I'm ready to stay warm. And then we have, the gallery also has a bathroom if you need to use the bathroom. And it will be warm. It has heat. Yeah, it has heat. I'm gonna just step out into this area so I don't get hit by a bicycle. But I just wanna point out to a wonderful Indian restaurant. There used to be 3 different Indian restaurants, Royal Bangladesh on the bottom, Panatu, and Milan. But since the pandemic, Milan was forced to close, but Panatu took over the space. We have a picture of all of them in our book, New York Nights, all lit up at night. Hello. And hi, my friends, they know me here. And it is so wonderful. Oh, you liked it? Oh, of course. We live stream from there. Can we show everyone that's... Come on up. I want to show you why it's such an amazing place to visit. They decorated it for Diwali many years ago. The owner put up like one. You can go inside. He said, "Go." Yeah, go. Okay. Go ahead. I'm gonna stay out here. I'm gonna show you this side, guys. They decorated it for Diwali many years ago. I don't want to just be, you know, and this side too.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Marty.
They're pretty deep steps.
Well, I can help you up so you can see it yourself. Yeah, I got your
I do
arm.
one step at a time.
Yeah, I got you.
Thank you.
Because you got to see it for yourself. It's like you're not going to believe it when you see it. This one's fine. Yeah, just push it open. It's fine. They don't mind. They know me in here. I know the owners. Isn't it fabulous? Wow. It's like a party every time, right? I've got your arm, so we'll switch sides. I got you. Take your time. I got you. I'm not gonna let you fall. Perfect. Isn't it fabulous?
So beautiful,
and
yeah.
The food is really great and it's inexpensive. We did a live stream from here where you can watch us eat. When it's your birthday, you get free mango ice cream.
Damn.
So basically, you can just say it's your birthday. I'm just giving you a little hint. They don't check. They don't ask for your driver's
And
license.
Do people usually just walk in, or do you have to
No,
reserve a table?
you just walk in, and as you can see, like have to sit really close to everybody else.
Yeah.
During the pandemic, it was very difficult for them because they were forced to close, even when it became the limited capacity, because like they could really only have 2 tables.
Yeah, totally.
Right, so like it really didn't work. And because they're located upstairs, they were not allowed to use the outside dining area. This outside dining area is for this restaurant over here. Because you're only allowed to use the sidewalk if you're
like street level.
if you're at street level. Yeah. So
And then the waiters would have to go up and down if they did that. If they were
oh, they wouldn't have cared. They would have done it. Trust me. They're hustlers here. They would have loved to have made the money, but yeah, they really suffered during the pandemic. So if you want to help out a really great restaurant, Pana 2, extra good. Oh, something, it was bright orange. It's very sweet. It's almost looking like a wagon wheel, and it's bright orange.
And it's like super.
Yes, that's it. Jalabi. Yeah, I know, Sweet Pea Dexter, but that's the city. The city has a lot of stupid rules. I mean, New York City, I hate to say it because, James and I are big proponents of mom and pop storefronts, but New York City is not pro mom and pop storefronts. I don't care who the mayor is. They really never have been. They have so many ridiculous rules and regulations that make absolutely no sense, and they make it very difficult to survive as a small business owner. Any small business owner will tell you. And the only reason I'm saying is that we interview all the small business owners. So we ask them these very pointed questions like, how has the parking affected you? How has rules and regulations of the ratings of the restaurants? You know how they have the restaurants ratings A, B, C? I mean, it sounds like it's a good idea in theory because, who wants to eat at a restaurant that gets a failing rating? But a lot of it's very corrupt in the way the ratings are given out. And it's really unfair, the violations that they give you. We went to a bar owner in the Bronx, and he told us that he got shut down because he had the wrong wattage light bulbs in his light. And it was only because the light bulb had just blown out, and instead of having nothing in there, he was just using like a 60-watt bulb when it should have only been a 40-watt bulb. And it was just temporary until he got the proper light bulbs. But it was just silly things like that he got shut down for that. So it's just, they have all these ridiculous rules that sound maybe good on paper, but once you get operating a business, it really doesn't make any sense. And it's essentially the business owners call it the hidden tax. It's just like the hidden things of how to survive in New York and not get shut down. And some of it's very, very unfair. Like when you have a business, you're supposed to keep your sidewalk clean. You see like all this litter here? They can get a fine for every little piece of litter that's on a sidewalk. I mean, and that sounds like a good rule. Everybody wants clean sidewalks. But the problem is that an inspector might come by and it could be a very windy day and you could have just cleaned your sidewalk, but I'm gonna wait for that to go by. But the store next door didn't clean their sidewalk, and then it's windy and their garbage blows into front of your store. Now you just cleaned up and you thought you were good as gold, but then the wind blew their dirt onto your side, and then you get the ticket. And it can be a very costly fine. So it's just like, things like that. Like, maybe they could just give them a warning on a very windy day, or just take notice that there's litter all around, and but they don't. And it's very sad to hear sometimes that things get inadvertently closed because of that. Yeah, save the culture and history. Exactly. Yeah, there's so many stories that the business owners have told us about the joys and struggles, I would say, of operating a small business in New York City. Now we're almost where we're going to get to our gallery. We're just waiting for Marty and Hudson, who likes to sniff. You know, when you walk with a dog, it's a slow-moving process because Hudson has to read his P-mail, as I like to call it.
I'm looking at you, but I'm hearing your mother.
Oh, somebody's being stubborn. Doesn't want to go, huh? Yeah. That's mine. Ours is almost 10.
He has a cut on his ear.
Yeah. So guys, we've arrived to the Village Works Gallery. Waiting for our talk to start. For anybody that's listening right now that's been waiting for us, but we got caught in the Guys, here we are at Village Works Gallery. Oh, Joey, thank you so much. Thank you, Adriana, for holding the fort. We got caught in the rain, so we are a little late, and we apologize. James is coming with Hudson. We'll be restarting in a minute. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, guys, come on in. Welcome to sit down. Guys, let me show you the outside of the gallery. This is Village Works Gallery. These are our signage collages that we have on display. James and I created these using our actual storefront photos of New York City stores. Okay. You're gonna
Yeah, I'll
walk in?
just fade from the back. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks for coming, guys. I'm so sorry to be late. We're taking a walking tour, and we got caught in the rain, so we took shelter for a little while. We've got plenty of seats, Marty. There's plenty of seats up front.
Hudson's here.
Right. Hudson is here, and we'll be
I'm just
giving
his
out
handler.
autographs.
Don't.
Hudson,
Hudson.
no, let me get him.
Not this friendly, Hudson.
No.
Have some decorum. Yeah. Oh, pastries.
Ice cream, you
Hudson,
smell.
get Hudson back there.
What are you doing?
He's causing mayhem as usual. How are you doing? How are you?
I never sent you my email. I was
Oh.
back with one.
Oh, you won the quiz. Cat Club. Yep. Yeah, we're
Oh, I
waiting
just
for the
mailed
email.
that to you.
Oh,
Yes.
How could you mail it?
I mailed it to you. Do you give this up?
No, he never sent our address.
I never sent you
Oh.
That was the Cat Club
Oh,
quiz.
that was it. Oh, so we'll give it to you in person. Perfect.
That's why I could. Send you on the post.
Pastries for you and for him.
Oh my God.
You notice she left me out.
Oh my God.
I'm Reverend Jenny, by the way.
Oh, Jenny, thank you so much.
Enjoy.
Oh my God, guys, look at this, a cannoli, carrot cake,
How are
red
you?
velvet cake. Oh my God. Look at this. Oh, not yet. Do you know that we led a walking tour around the neighborhood? We stopped at Venero's Pastisseria on East 11th Street.
I got it.
And, oh, that's just a
Glasses.
glasses case, don't worry about it. Hudson had 1.5 cannolis already. Already. You're very spoiled.
Very cool.
Okay.
But sorry we're late.
James, are you gonna? Did you want to stand in the corner? Would that be okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Like usual.
No, not now. I better put these out of sight. Oh, all right.
There's refreshments downstairs. Serve yourself if anybody
Oh,
wants
thank you,
anything.
Joey.
Water and wine down there.
Hey, Donnell, thanks for the €2. Refreshments and bathroom downstairs.
Autographs to give out. Hold on.
How are we doing, hon? Oh, good.
Give Hudson a treat just to get started. Not the pastry.
Refreshments and bathroom
Chicken treat for
downstairs.
Hudson.
Yeah.
You don't want a chicken treat?
Hey, Joseph Taylor.
No, he wants
All
a
right.
cannoli. Okay, perfect. So guys, thanks so much for coming. We really appreciate it, and sorry we were a few minutes late. Excuse our tardiness. Generally, we're usually on time. But this is the Village Works Gallery. This is the owner, Joey Sheridan, who opened this during the pandemic. So we got a shout out to Joey for bucking the trend, opening a business during the pandemic instead of closing a business during the pandemic. Because sadly, that's one of the things we wanted to talk to you about is our journey of documenting like the small mom and pop stores of New York City. James and I are residents of the East Village, and we've lived in the same apartment for like nearly 25 years now. And it really wasn't seeing these small mom and pop stores in our own neighborhood that got us started with taking the photos. It was really going to outlying neighborhoods in Brooklyn and Queens and the Bronx. I mean, the Bronx is where I grew up. I grew up in Kingsbridge, by the way. You can probably tell from my New York accent. No matter what, I'm stuck with it, and good or bad. Some people make fun of it, but I'm used to it. And I remember so many little stores growing up. Like I remember getting penny candy from the candy store. It's gone. But sometimes, like when you just see things close in your own neighborhood, you kind of just like, you may feel sad or say, oh yeah, I love that place and too bad it's gone. But you don't think about documenting it because it was just like a part of your life. And that's how it was for us. It was really us going into different neighborhoods and seeing that when something closed, like we would go to a neighborhood, say in Brooklyn, and Bed-Stuy, for instance, and I remember the day distinctly. We found an amazing candy store. It happens to be, the photo of us on the wall there, Katie's Candy Store. And it was owned by a woman named Katie Kaiser. And we saw that store and we're like, wow, this store is fabulous. We, coming from, if you're not familiar with our work, James and I, before documenting mom and pop stores, we documented graffiti art. And graffiti being a letter-based art form, it's all about how you manipulate the letter, your lettering style, like what they call your tag, which is like, you know, your kind of like your nickname or whatever you want to call it. And we were always looking at mom and pop stores because they always have unusual signage. So we were always looking at it because we were getting inspired by like, oh, how can we twist this letter around? Maybe we can adapt it to our own style of, you know, doing graffiti. Not that I would ever really call myself a big graffiti artist, nor James, but we had our hand in it many moons ago. So we were always looking at these mom and pop stores, and Katie's we loved because we looked at it, and I mean, you know, you can get up later and take a closer look at the photo, but you can see whoever painted that sign, they had like no rules. Like everything is mismatched. Like the R is bigger than the C, the D and the Y, like it's not symmetrical. Right. Nothing makes sense like from a grid standpoint or from a sign maker standpoint. So clearly this person just did it by freehand. They said, Katie's Candy Store, let me just kind of fit it in the space and make it work.
That orange area on the left, that's Good-O coconut soda, which was made in the Bronx at the time.
Right. This was
I don't know if you guys remember Good-O.
There was a store previous to Katie owning the store, and it was what they would call a privilege sign. A privilege sign, if you're not familiar with the terminology, I'm not sure. We can show you one in our book. Let me give you an example. Was signage that was given to a store owner.
Like classically, it's the Coca-Cola signs.
Right. Classically,
where they had the rails on them where you slide the metal letters in to say anything. Yeah. Those were given to the companies for free, as long as you sold their brand, which for someone is certainly an immigrant, certainly anyone.
Here's a good example.
Right.
This was given by Breyer's Ice Cream.
But that's a huge deal for a place.
Breyer's and Seal Test, because they're owned by the same manufacturer. So what the companies would do is, if you opened a business and you agreed to sell Breyer's and Seal Test ice cream, they would actually give you the sign. So you didn't have to pay for the sign yourself, which was a big deal back in the 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, when this practice was pretty commonplace, because it saves you a lot of money. Say you were an immigrant and you just came to the United States and you were scraping together whatever pennies your family saved to open up a business. To not have to pay for a sign was a very attractive proposition. So you would say, okay, I'll sell your product. You'd have to sell exclusively their product. So if you agreed to Coca-Cola to give you the sign, you couldn't sell Pepsi. You could only sell Coca-Cola, but it could save you, you know, potentially at that
Right.
time, maybe a sign cost like $1,000 in the 1930s and 1940s. And
Which
that
was huge.
That was a lot of money. $1,000 went a long way. Now $1,000.
But Katie had this huge booming voice.
Right, like
Could outtalk Karla,
I'm
could
just gonna-
could drown Karla out. Seriously. And she told us a story one day how she was robbed. She had this big lazy boy chair behind the counter, and in between customers she would watch television, which kind of gives you an idea of the, you know, the place. There was cats, you know, all over. She had pet cats. And she said these 3 kids came in and they duct taped her to her chair. But while they were doing that, Katie's like, I know you. I know who you are. She's like, when I tell your mother what you're out here doing, she's going to beat you so bad, you're going to wish you were in jail. And all the kids took off and left.
Yeah.
And they left her alone. And she said,
Well, they untied her first.
yeah. And they said, I speak 3 languages.
Right, English, Spanish, and motherfucker. She's like, that's how I survived in this neighborhood, because
Right.
we went into Katie's. We took that photo in 2003, and she grew up in the neighborhood in Bed-Stuy. So she was like, I've seen it all. I've been through it.
I've been through the crack, the dope.
The dope, the crime, you name it, I've been through it. And I'm here to stay. And I keep my prices low, because at the time in 2003, she still sold all her candy that she sold for a penny. Like whether it was a Reese's Pieces bar,
Yeah,
everything
25
was a
cent
penny.
RC colas.
Right, because she wanted to keep drugs away from the kids.
When we were
in the neighborhood.
interviewing her, people would bring her like a plate of food from the deli. Like, here you go, Katie. And she'd be like, oh, thanks, hon.
Right.
And they're like, everything okay today? And she like ran the whole neighborhood basically. And she gave a base for the kids to hang out for.
Right.
And
She
it
really
was.
gave back. She
right.
really cared about her community, and the store was all she had because she had lost her husband. He had gotten sick many years prior to even us meeting her in 2003. She had a son, but he wasn't really involved in the business or anything like that. The business was everything to her, and the whole block. This was on Tompkins in Bed-Stuy. When we went there in 2003, like the block was pretty decimated, meaning like it had fallen on hard times. Her business was open. There was a wine and liquor store across the way. Interestingly, the wine and liquor store had this big sign, "We have steel gates." And
No,
I'm like,
it said, we have steel plated floors and walls.
Right, and I'm like, what the heck does that mean? We went inside, and the guy told us that he'd been robbed so many times.
People
that
digging-
Not only does he had a pull down gate, but he had to put steel grating on his walls and floor because they would knock through from
The buildings were empty on the sides of them, so people could spend all night
abandoned
digging
store.
through.
Right, to steal, wine, liquor, cash that he might have left in the register. So he he gated in literally like it was like a jail cell, really.
Right.
And he operated in there like he had a little window. You
Right.
didn't go shopping inside the store. You just went in, and then
You pass stuff
he
through,
would
like.
pass through things. You
But
would give him
Katie's was
money.
just a low counter, just open to
Right,
everybody.
Just open to everyone. Her cat was like roaming around, pawing in the Tootsie Rolls. We're like,
And just,
okay.
yeah. But the sad part is the landlord, will you tell us?
Right. So we went there in 2003, and we said, Katie, tell us about your store, because to us, we wanted to find out why this store was still in business, but why is the store next door abandoned? What happened? What's your secret recipe, or what is the secret of why you're still here and another store disappears? And she told us in 2003, she's like, well, all the story about the English Spanish motherfucker being robbed, and then how much she cares about the neighborhood. But she told us, listen, I don't know how much longer I can be here because I only have about a year or so left on my lease. And my landlord is telling me that the price of real estate has gone up in the neighborhood, that he's thinking of, redoing the building because there was apartments above it. In fact,
If you look closely at the picture, there's a rope with
yeah.
a hook on the end.
Right, that's how like the people that lived above, there was an elderly lady. She couldn't go up and down the stairs to get her groceries. So somebody would put her groceries
In like a
in
5-gallon bucket?
and she would pull it up.
And she'd
using
pull it
that
up.
rope. So you could see we left the rope in the
Right.
picture because we witnessed that. Like when we would take a photo, we would be initially attracted like from the look and feel of the store, as I like to call it. And we would spend a lot of time there, like observing it, like we saw that rope going up and down, talking to the owner, and we would ask them these pointed questions. So Katie said, listen, I don't know how much longer I'm gonna be in business because the guy, he wants to triple my rent. My landlord, he wants to make this into like a luxury building. He's seeing that the neighborhood is changing because it was, Bed-Stuy was gentrifying at the time. And what happened was her lease was up in 2007, and in 2006, the guy just basically kicked her out. She didn't have any money to fight him in court. I mean, now I think people have more rights, and maybe this wouldn't have happened, that she would have just been kicked out, but she was forced to leave, and we kept in touch with her son, because her son was younger and he was active on social media. Katie was, an older woman, social media to her was like, I mean, I might as well say, write something in Swahili, like that's just, language she didn't speak. She was just like, had the old school register. It only went up to like $1. And she would hit it like, if they bought a lot of candy, she would just hit the $1 button a couple of times to like, get something more expensive to ring up. And we kept in touch with her son, and he called us one day on the phone because he had our phone number too, and he's like, listen, I want to let you know that Katie passed away. We knew the store had closed, and what happened was he told us that Katie got pneumonia, and she went into the hospital, and that she didn't really have any will to live anymore.
Yeah, she just lost her.
Right, that she didn't try to fight the infection. She just gave up. Like, this was his words of like how his mom felt. That without the store and without something to do, like every day, she just sat there from like 7 o'clock.
And the saddest part is, you go there now and the storefront's still empty.
Still empty to this
So they could have
day.
just had Katie there, who was like mayor of the block, basically.
Right. I mean, at the time,
Who
I think her
now you go there, the block's all garbage, graffiti. There's
right. Still to
the
this
liquor
day,
store is still there, of
2022.
course, because
right. His dreams of like a luxury condo building
That
went
fell through.
kaput
Yeah.
because in 2007 was the collapse of the market. So I mean, it's just terrible. And the block is just like, to
yeah, it's
us,
quiet.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reason why we started photographing these stores, is because when they would disappear, we said, oh wow, then the neighborhood doesn't look the same anymore, it doesn't feel the same anymore, it doesn't have that charm, that certain something, whatever it is, that attracted us to it in the first place. So that's like one of the most tragic stories.
That's what really motivated us to
keep on going.
go with this
Because
project.
when we were taking all these photos, they were all 35mm film, like every one that you see on display here, because we started the project so long ago. It's like before, you didn't have a cell phone,
No.
there was no digital cameras or anything like that. We had our 35mm film camera, and we'd go around to like these different neighborhoods, we'd take the pictures, and to us, we'd think about it, well, is it film worthy? Like, is the store like,
Yeah.
because we didn't have a lot of money to devote to this as a
No.
personal project. We weren't sharing it with anybody. We were showing it to anybody. It was just for ourselves. We're like, well, what is it about the store to us? Is it worth us to take the photo? More or less, like without summing it up. So in the process, we wish we had taken a lot more photos. But sometimes we would give up. We'd be like, oh look, there's a big truck, a UPS truck parked in front.
Right.
We can't take the photo. And I'd write it down on a little piece of paper, and I'd stick it in my back pocket. And then sometimes I'd throw it in the wash, and I'd promptly forget that I ever wrote anything down in my back pocket. Sometimes I'd find this little scrap of paper in a purse or a backpack, a year later, I'd be like, oh my God, we never went back there. We should go check it out. And it was gone. So sadly, we can never say that we took every photo that we wanted. Definitely we didn't. But now we have no excuse, because now if we don't have our film camera with us, we always have our phone or something. And we always tell people, if you see something, it doesn't matter if there's an obstruction in the way. Just try
get
to
it.
get around it. Just take the photo, because don't take it for granted. Just like, I mean, honestly, thank God we took the photos when we did, but we didn't take as many as we would have liked to. I mean, there's probably, I mean, I don't even know, at least a couple of hundred that I could probably think of that I remember vividly in
Yeah,
my
we would have
mind
liked
that
to.
we didn't get, even in our own neighborhood. I mean, everybody says, oh, did you photograph Luchow's on 14th Street? And I'm like, oh my God, we must have passed by it a million times, the old German restaurant. I mean, I have German heritage.
The Variety Theater right there.
Right. I mean, you name it. Like
Disco Donut right there we missed.
Disco Donut. There was a Tad Steaks on 14th Street. I mean, just thinking of one street.
Right.
that-
Julian's Pool Hall.
Right. The Carmelita's Reception House.
Yep,
like,
second
all
floor.
These places that James and I used to hang out at, but we never thought to take a photo because, like I said, in our minds we thought, oh, that place will always be there.
When you live around it, right.
Or, you know, like, okay, we'll get that tomorrow. And in fact, CBGB, which thank God we took the photo, it's a really funny story with that. That's a place, I mean, I really love music. James and I, we moved to the East Village partly because of all the preponderance of music venues, mom and pop stores. I'm just taking off my scarf now, I don't need it while I'm inside. That were in the neighborhood. And James and I saw many performances at CBGB, and we never thought to take a photo because we always thought it would be there. And then one day in 2005, and that's probably the oldest photo that's on the wall here, with the exception of Sunshine Theater.
The newest one,
that's,
right.
That's the newest one, but out of this grouping, the CBGB is probably one of the newer ones, except for that night photo passes. That's not that recent, because you could see there was no big building behind it. That was before the big, condo got built behind it. But CBGBs, we passed by a million times, and we never thought to take a photo because A, it wasn't our favorite storefront because it had an awning. And plastic awnings, for us, we liked a hand-painted sign or a neon sign or something like that. It wasn't our favorite thing to photograph a store
Right.
with a plastic awning or a music venue. But one day we were wandering by, and I happened to have maybe like 3 frames left on a roll of film. And we wanted to go get it developed. We used to go to a place called Alkit on Park Avenue. That was our
Park
favorite
Avenue
place.
South, like
Park Avenue South. They did an
right around
amazing
20.
job, and they'd have it ready in about a half
Yeah,
hour.
yeah.
I used to prepay for like batches of rolls. Like you could get it done. You can get your film processed cheaper if you prepaid for like 30 rolls ahead of time. And then they would just keep track, and they'd like punch you on a little punch card. Okay, you're done with your 30, now re-up again. But it would reduce the price for like half or something like that. It was a really, really, really good deal. And they did an amazing job. And they knew me, so I'd be like, okay, can you even get it ready sooner than a half hour? And if they had they did a lot of processing for like a lot of glossy magazines, like Vogue and all those magazines used to get their film developed there too for the magazine. So they'd be like, oh yeah, we just got in stacks. We're running the machine now. We got it full on. You know, we'll throw it in there for you. Just walk your dog around the neighborhood and come back in like 20 minutes. And because we'd be wondering, like, the thing with film is that you never know. Like you
Right.
think you know what you're doing as a photographer. Like, okay, but did you get the picture you want? You don't really know. What digital, you can look on the camera and you can review it and you're gonna be like, okay, yeah, that looks good, and you walk away. But with film, there's always that uncertainty. So we were always anxious, like, oh my God, did it come out? A lot of times, like, we would just stay up all night, like, poring over all our photos. We would lay them out
Yeah.
and go over them. Oh, what can we do better? Like, dissect them. Like, maybe we should have used this F, or, because we did everything manual focus. We didn't just do what I
Right.
call the green mode. We would set the aperture, set the exposure ourselves. So we would really look at them, and then I would write it down. I was very meticulous about that, what settings we would use, and then I would compare them. Like, okay, we like this sort of light, and we would look at it, and then if we didn't like it, we'd go back and photograph again, if at all possible. But CBGB, I remember specifically, for years and years and years, we never took the photo, and then I had like 3 frames left. I wanted to go to Alkit, and it's kind of on its way because that's on Bowery. So it's like, okay, yeah, we'll just take the photo.
Yeah,
You know,
just take
use
it,
up the
yeah.
3 frames, so that way we can get the damn roll developed, because they were going to charge me for the full 36, whether I use the 36 or not.
Right.
Like if I only bought it with 33, they would still charge me for 36, so I might as well take the rest of the 3 frames. So I took that, and then we didn't even think about it. Like we just put it in a shoebox,
Right.
and we promptly forgot about that we even photographed CBG, because who cares to even see it? Like anyone can get the photo. Just go there and take it yourself.
Right.
Not even a year later, they closed, and
Right.
we were just like, "Oh my God, thank God we
Right.
took the photo." So
The
it
problem
just,
is, like in your own neighborhood, the change is so insidious
right,
that you see it every day. It's like if someone asks you when you're, 58, you say, "Yeah, I look like I did 20 years ago." But then you still look at a picture and you're like, "No, there's a lot of differences here." And just like when we would go out to, say, Katie's and then go back to visit, say, Jimmy's down the block, we'd be like, "Wow, this neighborhood 6 months later, it's desolate." But when you're in the neighborhood every day, these changes are so small, and you
Right.
start to take things for granted. Like we took Lennox Lounge for granted forever, because we're
Right.
like, "That's not going anywhere. That's
right.
an
the
institution."
jazz venue. Like, how could Lennox Lounge possibly close? I mean, Billie Holiday played there. Miles
Yeah.
Davis, how could that? It's an iconic place with beautiful Art Deco facade. That's never going to
Right.
close. And again, Lennox Lounge, sadly, now is forced to close because the building was sold. And what we found out from the store owners, the number one reason why these shops closed is when the building owner did not own the building they were located in. That was like the death knell of the business. And this is coming from like not our own observation. This is asking the business owners these pointed questions, because we would ask them flat out, "Do you own the building?" Because they didn't think, like, we would explain why we were asking all these questions. Like, they wouldn't think that we were, like, trying to buy the building or,
Right.
saying it in a nefarious way. They realized that we cared about it, and we were just asking these, questions. And they were happy to answer to them. Because a lot of times they would say, "You know what, in all the years that I've been operating, no one ever asked me whether
Right.
I liked why I opened this business, why my grandparents opened this business, how we got started in the business," and they had such joy, like sharing their
Yeah, the pride really showed through.
yeah their stories with us, that it just felt amazing. I mean, I remember Veselka is a new picture. We shot Veselka. It's actually the very first picture in our storefront book. We opened
Storefront
this
too.
book
Yeah.
with our photo of Veselka. This is what it looked like in 2014. They refronted a little bit. You see, they changed it to yellow, because they changed it to like sort of for the colors of the Ukrainian flag, and they put the Ukrainian flag in the window. This is a very new picture. This was just taken, and we have this up as part of the gallery because this one we're selling. 100% of the proceeds for the sale of the photo go to help the people of Ukraine. We partnered with Veselka. They are doing a similar promotion where they're selling their borscht. 100% of the proceeds from the sale of their borscht, whether it's in-store, takeaway, or through Gold Belly, which is like one of their delivery apps that they use, that they ship, around the nation. They're doing it all through Raison Ukraine, which is a nonprofit to directly help the people of Ukraine, because there's a lot of like things going on in the internet where you donate your money and you might as well just throw it out the window, because it's not really going to help anybody. It's certainly not helping the people of Ukraine, but this is a real legitimate
Right.
operation, and we thought of that to do that. I spoke with the owner, Jason Bishardi, he's the third generation owner of Veselka, and I said, "How can we help? What organization are you giving your proceeds to?" And that's what he told us. That's what
Right.
he's giving his proceeds. So we're doing the same. But
But every single one of these in here, I just want to
has a story.
has a story just like Katie's.
Right.
Like this place here, bicycles.
Bicycles. That
was on 17th Street.
17th Street, just off 3rd Avenue, between
Just off
3rd
3rd.
and Irving Place. And when we went in to speak to the owner, his name was Emmy. He used to also own a bicycle shop called Busy Bee. If you're fans of vinyl records, it was right next door to A1 Record Shop on East 6th Street. Sadly, he passed away. But that was his first bicycle shop, Emmy's Bicycles. And when we went in there and spoke with him, he's like, you like my, you know, because I said, oh, I love your storefront. I love the hand-painted signed bicycles. He's like, oh, you like the storefront? What about the building? And I'm like, yeah, the building's nice. And he's like, you know what's special about this building? And I'm like, no, what's special? He's like, it's made of zinc. And I'm like, you're kidding me.
You can
the
see a little bit of-
facade is made of zinc.
Up in
Just
there.
like, you know, there's cast iron buildings in Soho. That's what the Soho district is known for. This one was made of zinc. And it was part of Peter Stuyvesant's farm. Peter Stuyvesant, in case you don't know the history of New York, was the Dutch general director of New York. That was when New York was a Dutch colony, not an English colony or the free state that it is now, if you call living in New York free. No, I don't know about that statement. Well, maybe
Yeah,
we'll
no,
strike that. But at any rate, free in some senses, but that's was part of his farm, Peter Stuyvesant's farm. And in the basement of that building was the silo. And Emmy took me downstairs into the basement, and you could see the remnant of the silo from the original farm. And I mean, I was just blown away when he showed me that. I'm like, oh my God, that is the coolest thing I ever saw. And if we had never stopped in to ask him that, you know, this isn't something you can learn from a history book. I mean, I went to high school here. I mean, I grew up in the Bronx. I, you know, public school educated. I can tell you, I never learned anything about that. I don't even think I learned much about American history. I remember learning about Mesopotamia and like all this useless stuff that's floating around in my head from my history classes of public school. But you know, New York history is like, I don't even know. If
But
you
which
spent-
magazine was in?
Spent an afternoon. That was the headquarters for Time magazine.
Time, right.
When they founded Time magazine, it was headquartered there. So it just has such a
Now
rich
it's a
history.
single family dwelling,
Yeah, he
painted black.
he was forced to close. The building was sold, and now it became, you know, like a luxury dwelling, I guess you could say.
Right.
But it's sad. It's very sad when these stores close. Our first book, which sadly is out of print right now, hopefully will be reprinted. It's called Storefront: The Disappearing Face in New York. That's the one with this image on the cover, Ralph's Discount City, which was in Tribeca. I'll talk about that and why we chose it as a cover image. But when we wrote the
Let
introduction
me
to
just
that
get the
book
water.
in 2008, there's another water there.
Oh, there is?
Yeah, there's two. If you want. Remember, there's one inside the bag. Oh no, don't. I
Got
forget
it.
you have the gimbal. Here you
Yep.
go, Jim. When we wrote the introduction to 2008, it was about 10 years worth of photos. So we were taking the mom and pop stores for about 10 years. We wrote the introduction, and about 1/3 of there's 326 stores of photos, individual stores that are in our first book. 1/3 of them, when we wrote the introduction in 2008, had already closed in that 10-year period of time. And since then, you know, that was 2008. Since then, now we're 2022. I can tell you more than 90% of those stores that are in that book are gone.
There's some
And
chairs.
most of the reason, yes, we have some more chairs. Do you want to bring them to the back, or does that not allow
There's nothing
room?
back here.
Yeah, so I can move the table a little bit forward. You definitely have some room to sit if you'd like.
Oh, I shouldn't sit here? Huh? People won't be able to get the chair. Oh, God.
Right, yeah, in case they want to stand. So
Long story, but our neighbors
it's
tell us about
it was for us like a race against time
That's why we
to
got
keep
the
on
plans.
photographing these, especially around 2003, 2004. That's when the real estate prices really started going up in New York, and that's when we saw a lot of stores beginning to just disappear. And then, of course, when the real estate crisis happened in 2007, when the prices just went skyrocketing down, then even more stores closed because the owners, the landlords, were trying to recoup their losses by putting the money that they lost on the business owner. So they increased the price of rent. I mean, just like when they own a building and there's like tenants above them, if it's a rent stabilized building, that means that they can't, you know, raise the price of the rent people who are living in the building, but there's no such law for the storefront tenants on the ground floor space. And we found this out just speaking to the owners, that we didn't realize that sometimes that the storefront owners pay like almost, I know one store on East 14th Street, their rent pays for 80% of the taxes, of the real estate taxes for the entire building.
Right.
This is
And how many units did that have?
that had, it's 4 stories, so it's 3 floors of apartments, and there's 4 apartments on each floor, so that would be 12 units of income. But that couldn't be passed on to the residents because it was all rent control building. So they would pass the real estate tax increase on to the tenant in the bottom floor. These are things that, like, you and I, or anybody that wouldn't ask these pointed questions like James and I do,
Right.
would never know. Because you'd be like, well, why on earth, why would a landlord raise the rent so high? That's part of the reason, because somebody's got to pay the taxes, and they don't want to pay it themselves, so they throw it onto the business owner. And that is why so many have closed. I mean, there's been instances, and I told this to the people that came on our walking tour earlier. There was a music store, like a sheet music store, Colony Music. It was by Times Square. They increased the
The
rent.
Brill Building, right?
It was in the Brill Building.
Yeah.
If you know music, Brill Building is very, very famous.
Tony
for
Bennett, you
a
know,
lot
that
of
whole era.
famous musicians had music written, happened in the Brill Building. They were on the ground floor. They increased their rent 15 times. 15 times. I told people that's like giving the,
Yeah, the finger to 'em.
right, saying we don't want you here anymore, because nobody that's a small business can absorb a 15 times rent increase, let alone double. Poor Katie Candy, they wanted to triple her rent. She was forced to close. She's like, I can't afford.
Well, they
triple
offered her
rent.
like $500 to go away.
Yeah, and he's
And
like,
she's
I'm
like-
gonna give you $500 just to close now today. And she's like, well, I got $500 worth of just the Tootsie Bars right here. No, I'm not going. But she didn't have the money to fight it in court, so the guy eventually got her out because he just harassed her to the point where, she just couldn't stay
Right.
anymore. Turned off her heat, did all these bad things. I mean, like I said, things are a little bit different now. You have a little bit more rights, and maybe, she would have realized that, but, as we like to say, hindsight's always 20/20. You learn and live by the mistakes
Right.
you made. And certainly, as far as talking about mistakes, James and I are self-taught photographers. We did not go to school.
No.
I mean, we're both college educated, but we didn't go to college for photography. I mean, I was an art minor, but not for photography. That was fine art. I decided not to go that path. My mother was a starving artist, so I said, no, that's not for me. But listen, in the end, I didn't choose that much of a different
Right.
route. But at the time, I thought, okay, no, I'm not gonna be a starving artist. But we taught everything to ourselves, and we taught it ourselves by just taking a lot of photos. And then, like I said, because it was 35mm film, we'd get them developed, and we would, mostly at night, because we were working like 2 or 3 jobs each.
Right.
We would stay up late at night, and we would spread them out on our kitchen table. Well, our kitchen table is also our living room table / dining room table, because we live in a
Yeah.
studio. So there is no other table except our kitchen table. So it's one room. So we would spread them out on our table, and we would just pour over them. And I would write everything down in a little book.
Yeah, like you said.
Oh, what exposure, what this, and we'd look at it, and we'd like, oh no, I don't like that. Maybe the tilt is wrong, or something about it. And believe me, it took a long time for us to figure out a process of what we like. Now we can take a storefront photo, like you can say the word storefront, and we'll have it photographed already. That's because we've been doing it for so long. All we have to do is look at a building, and we can size it up, and we know exactly how we want to shoot it. But that comes from years and years of experience, and years of taking pretty, photos that we weren't being not too proud of this day. So I always like to encourage people that are getting into photography for the first time. Don't be overcritical of yourself, because you will learn from your mistakes, and you can spend the time look at them. If you're using digital media, that's great, because you don't have to outlay a big investment like we did, buying film, getting it developed. But if you can, take the time to at least get it printed, if not just in a cheap way. Like if you can't afford to get it printed, a really great photo, digital, like from a processing place, just buy an inexpensive printer and print them out, because to us that really, really, really helped us. Like just looking at them and being able to say, oh, what's wrong with this one? You can look at it on screen until you're blue in the face. It's not going to give you, I can tell
Yeah.
you firsthand, it's just because we shoot digital also, you know, professionally. We're architectural photographers and interior photographers. Oh, he's
No, Hudson's pushing the table
yeah, he's,
into her lap, basically, and he's oblivious.
Nobody smells my dog.
In
there we
in
go. Okay, yeah. Give him
Hudson.
some room. Yeah, he doesn't like to be on the, he likes the finer
tiny
things.
chair.
Right, he's on the chair. He's like, okay, I want to be the center of attention. I'm not gonna, you know, be down on the floor, forgotten.
But really, the point is, like, the whole journey of this
Right.
project started aesthetically.
Right. It was all
You know,
about how the storefront looked. Whether it was a gorgeous neon sign like
Right.
Lennox Lounge, like Ralph's, for instance. This became the photo that we chose as the cover of our first storefront book because we fell in love with this. It was the font. It was that word Ralph's. We're like, oh my God, look at this. I never seen like an L like this. And I mean, I learned cursive writing because I'm old enough that I learned cursive
Right.
writing in school. Now they don't, you know, teach cursive writing. You know,
Right.
everything is typed on a little phone. But yeah, we had to, you know, okay, you know, you're holding the pen the wrong way, and I did it all wrong. They made me put like a triangle on my pen or something like that. You know,
Right.
to grip it correctly, to get a better slant of the letters or whatever I was doing. My mother is a lefty, so I think I was always I'm not left-handed. I'm right-handed, but I think I was always trying to copy her some way, shape, or form. So I don't know. I got rapped on the hand many times for not holding my pencil and pen correctly. That's another day when you would get the ruler on your hand. They don't do that in school anymore.
Right.
But anyway, we love the font. I was like, oh my God, that L and that S. We're like, oh, look at that S. I've never seen an S like that. So we fell in love with the signage. Plus, I used to live on Murray Street. Now that's my last name, but that's my married name, not my maiden name. And this was very close to Murray Street. This was on Chambers Street. And I used to go shopping there because it was cheap. This blue bag is the bag that you would get when you would shop inside Ralph's. It was like, kind of like your Dollar General store. Like if, you know, for lack of a better way
Right.
of thinking about it, you know, your 99
Like
cents.
McCory's, Woolworths,
Right, like on Woolworths.
but a
McCory's,
smaller version of
but
that.
even more than that. You could see they had everything in the window that was on sale. They spent a long time, like, you know, labeling everything. Look at the price. AIM toothpaste, 99 cents. So you can tell how old this photo is. Now, I mean, toothpaste got quite expensive. Toilet paper, I don't even know, $2.49. Fabulous. I wish I could get 8 rolls of toilet paper for $2.49.
Right.
But this is what you get. So with our photos, you'll see that most of the time they do not have people in them. Now that's another conscious decision that we made very early on in the process when we were taking the photos. We purposely did not want people in them because we did not want to date the photo. In our minds, we felt like if we had a person that you could look at their clothing and then you could find out like what year it was taken by the way they were dressed. If we avoided that and not had people in the photo, then you wouldn't be able to tell whether this beautiful storefront, which was erected in the 1960s, perhaps this photo was taken in the 1960s. You could never be sure, but if there was a person, you could date it. So for the most part, we didn't have people in it, but this, we had to leave this gentleman because his back was turned, so his face wasn't showing, so I didn't have to worry about like asking him permission to be in our photo or anything like that, because we're always very conscious about that. As a rule, if you're taking a picture of a storefront, you do not have to ask permission from the building owner to take a picture of a storefront, because you're taking it from public property, meaning you're standing on a sidewalk or you're standing in the street. Now that is legal. You do not, don't let anybody tell you that you need permission to take something from the street. That is them just hassling you. You can stand up, know your rights. I mean, maybe if they're aggressive, they'll take your camera and break it, but that's another story. That, thank God, never happened to us, but it has happened to a couple of friends. But that is your right to take the photo. However, when a person is in it, if you're showing their face, you must ask their permission because then you're showing their likeness. So it also avoided that, but that really wasn't the reason, because we would always have asked for somebody's permission if we wanted to leave them in the photo. But this gentleman, his back was turned, so the point was moot. But we wanted to leave him in there because he had the blue bag. And I knew what the blue bag meant because I shot there. So I was just like, oh no, we're leaving him in. He's perfect. There's not even one frame where I have of this storefront where he's not in it. He stood there for the longest time, and I honestly don't know why he stood there for the longest time, because he had already left. He had already shopped in there. You could see his blue bag, but
Right.
I don't know if he was just lost in thought or whatever, because I never bothered him. I just kept on, click, 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 click. And I never asked him why he was there, but he was there for probably a good 10 or 15 minutes. And I thought about it, like, oh, should I wait for him to clear away and take another photo? And then I decided against it, and then we never photographed it again. That's how we kind of operated. Like, we take a photo, and then we would tuck it away in our shoebox, and I wouldn't ever think about it again, except to interview the owner, because I would always try to interview the owner at the time that I took the photo. Sometimes what I would do, and this was to kind of like break the ice with the owner, is before I even took the photo of the storefront, I would go in and I would ask the owner, would it be okay if I take a photo of your storefront? Now, I knew full well that I didn't have to ask their permission, but this was just a way of breaking the ice with them, because I knew in my mind that I wanted to also interview them. So if you ask their permission, now you've already set up like kind of a rapport with them. Like you're saying,
Right.
oh, they would be like, well, why do you want to take a photo of my storefront? Some of them didn't realize the beauty of their storefront. And I'd be like, oh my God, well, it's beautiful. Look at the sign you have. And I did speak to the owner of Ralph's, and I asked him, how in the world, like, who made your sign? What is this? And he told me that was how his father, that was his father's signature. He gave it to the sign maker. The sign maker duplicated it. So this wasn't a font that was created by the sign maker. This was a dupe of the actual signature. How he chose that S, which I've been told, we get emails now all the time from around the world from different graphic designers. Sometimes they use our book for graphic design purposes and things like that, looking at old storefronts. But somebody said, oh, that looks like the Elsa Peretti heart. And I said, wait a minute. And I went into the Tiffany catalog, because Elsa Peretti is one of the artists represented by Tiffany & Company. She has a whole jewelry line. And sure enough, there's a heart, an Elsa Peretti heart that they have in sterling silver. And I think they have it, they sell it in gold as well. You want to lay down? You tired? And it looks exactly like that. So who knows? Maybe they're related to Elsa Peretti, this Ralph's guy. I have no idea. But we fell in love with it. So that's why we chose it for the cover image, plus it was forced to close. Ralph's was a victim of the success of Tribeca. When Venero came in and the whole Tribeca Film Festival and everything like that, and took Tribeca from the sleepy little place that it was with a lot of artist lofts, and made it into the it's one of the most expensive zip codes in the whole United States now. This low-lying building, it was a one-story building. It stretched for quite some time. This was just
Right.
part of the storefront. The storefront continued on. He didn't own the building, the owner of this. They got an offer, and they knocked the building down, and they built a luxury condo, a tall one. And to this day, and I haven't been back since
Right.
20. Yeah, he's just tired. I think he's sleepy. Why don't you sleep over here, big fella? You okay?
Oh, Huds.
Oh, he's almost 10 and he gets a little sleepy now. He went on a long walk. You want to come back up on the chair? Up? Okay. Come on. Oh, all right.
Yeah,
all
no,
right.
he's-
Well, do what you want. If you want to lay down here. You want a little treat? And here you can have my scarf. There, put your head on my scarf. He needs comfort.
Yeah.
Comfort's a big issue for him. When you're almost 10, you want a pillow.
He wants Bonnie Bonbon's pillow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
The pillow.
Pretty
The-
much. I'm gonna have to start, walking around with that now. And at any rate, Rouse, I said to him, what's going on? He's like, well, we don't want to leave, but the building's been sold, and that's the end of that. So they were forced to close, and still to this day, and like I said, I haven't been back in 2022, but as we were there in 2021, the storefront in the new luxury building, the building itself, the residents are all, the building is sold through. I don't think there's any empty apartments, but the ground floor space is still empty. They want so much money for the ground floor space that I don't know who the developer was, but they can afford for it to stay empty. It's just a tax write-off. They don't care. That's the thing of why you see so many empty storefronts today, is that when it's a big corporation, which I believe this one might be owned by one of the big, a holding company that owns many buildings. I don't know which one it is, but they buy up many buildings, and it's just an investment. They don't care if the storefront is empty, because they'd rather have a high-paying tenant or no tenant. It doesn't matter to them. They're not going to lower their rent and get something that maybe isn't as desirable, whatever it is desirable that's in their mind, be it a bank. That's why there's so many damn banks on, we're just like, how many Chase banks do we need? We got one where, there used to be at a time, they took over where the old Second Avenue Deli was, and there was literally one like 2 blocks down the street, and then another one around the way on 14th. I'm like, how many banks do you need? No one even goes inside a bank anymore. They're just banks online. But these buildings like banks because it's clean, there's no food involved, which means no vermin.
Yep.
And they can pay, they don't care. It's just an advertisement for them. And the same with a lot of these luxury buildings, like in Soho, where you see, like, you go there, and I'm like, nobody's shopping in them. There's nobody in there. Or Fifth Avenue, there's nobody in these stores. How do they make any money? Do they do that much online sales? Well, they don't care. The corporations don't care. It's just it's an advertisement that they have a store at Fifth Avenue. They don't care if anyone goes in them. But the mom and pops, they need your business. Every sale that they make goes back to either to pay their rent, to pay their electricity bills. Joey told me himself, Joey is the owner here, that Con Ed just, exorbitantly raised the rates, and he got a ridiculous electric bill the other month. And just like, out of nowhere, like it goes from whatever it was to, 5 times the amount?
It was averaging about $220 a month, and it went to $600.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And I just woke up and it was out of my account. It's on auto pay.
Right. So you don't even realize that that's how much you're going to pay. It's not like you can fight it or anything. And once it's out of your bank account, it's not like they're ever going to say, "Oh, sorry, I'll give it back to you." So
this month it went to 400. So I think they try to shock you once and make you feel, now you feel 400 is normal.
Oh.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Right, so 400 is a bargain compared to the 600, so you don't
So you feel good.
as much. Right. Sadly, there's so much that goes into running a mom and pop store, and a lot of people say, oh wow, this store has been around forever, they must own the building. Don't think that. I can look on the wall and I can tell you one that I know right off the bat that they don't own the building, and that's Yona Schimmelknish Bakery. And that's been in business since 1908. Because we always speak to the owners, we always usually ask them that question. And I know for a fact that they definitely do not own the building. The family used to many years ago, but they sold it. And this is a decision, sadly, that it's either a make or break moment. We also interviewed the owners for Russ and Daughters Appetizers, and I want to tell you, they do own the building, but I want to tell you the interesting story behind that. During the Great Depression, their business has been there since 1914. They had a little different storefront, but then it expanded a little bit. But they originally sold from a push cart, but just suffices to say 1914, they own the building now, but during the Great Depression, business was terrible because nobody could afford fish. Smoked salmon was a luxury item, is a luxury item now. It was a luxury item back then. It might have not cost what it does now, but it was still a luxury item. So when the Great Depression hit, they almost lost their business. But what happened is that Joel Russ he made a very, very huge decision for his family. It's either sell the business or sell the family's home. And he decided to sell the family's home. And they moved into a tiny little apartment around the corner from where Russ and Daughters was located, crammed themselves in, big family, into this little tiny space. And he said, no, I'm thinking of the future, and I'm thinking that the future is my business. I'm gonna sell the home. I don't care if we have to scrape by in a little hovel. I'm gonna do this. And Nikki Russ Fetterman and Joshua Rush Tupper, who are the 4th generation co-owners now, I mean, they said to me that, like, that decision is why they're still here to this day, because if he hadn't done that and they continued renting or whatever, first of all, who knows if it would have even lasted through the Great Depression, but certainly they would not have lasted through this latest pandemic, because they took a huge hit in that. Even though they were a food business, they didn't feel safe. They had expanded their operations also in Brooklyn. They do their manufacturing now in Brooklyn, where they do their baking of their babka and everything like that. We toured the facility. I mean, we've seen the facility, it's beautiful. Oh, yeah. But, you know, that decision was everything. So it saved the business in essence, but there's a lot of other great stories associated with Russ and Daughters, besides them saving that Joel Russ Tupper had the wherewithal to actually say, no, I'm gonna keep the store and not close it down, and instead, you know, have my family move into a tiny little, you know, a hovel, sharing it with many, many other family members, is that it's the first business believed in the United States to have the word "and daughters" in its signage. Because businesses in the 1900s were generally passed for generational business. You know, women were the homemakers, or they weren't, you know, the ones that had the title. They were like maybe on the back burner, you know, stirring the of Veselka, you know, the babushka making the borscht, but they weren't the ones on the signage. But what happened was Joel Russ Tupper had 3 beautiful daughters, and they all, as teenagers, worked in his store. And at the time, there was at least 20 other appetizing stores on the Lower East Side, centered around Orchard Street, which was like the big shopping street for the Lower East Side at the time. And the reason why Russ and Daughters was the most popular is because inside to Russ and Daughters to flirt with the 3 girls, because they were very pretty and they wanted to match make with their sons, themselves, or whoever it was. So whether it was a woman going in that had kids, or whether it was a man going in because he wanted them for himself or for his own sons, they would always go in there and they would flirt. Russ was smart. He realized, wow, at first I thought, this is terrible. I have no sons to pass the business along to. But then he's like, wait a minute, my daughters are why I'm doing so well. I'm going to rename the business. And he did this legally, because at first it was called Joel Russ Cut Rate Appetizers. That was the name of the store. And they have some pictures of the original signage if you visit the store. And they also have it in their cafe that they opened up on Orchard Street. And you can see Joel Russ Cut Rate Appetizers. But he put the "and daughters" and legally changed the name because he realized the power of his daughters. And it did pass down to his daughters. And interestingly, to this day, it's still run, co-owned. There's a man involved in the business too, but co-owned by Nikki Russ Fetterman, who is, you know, Joel Russ's great granddaughter. So
you can imagine all these guys on the Lower East Side. I'm going to go get more whitefish.
Yeah.
And the wife's fish. No, I'm going to.
I need more. I
want to go down and check it out.
So we love that story. Now, Cass's Delicatessen is also a business that's been around for a long time. They also own their building. Now, when we took that photo, you can see, even though it's kind of, it was nighttime, and we like that. Most unusual is that we always like to take a very linear approach when we take our storefront photos. You can see many of them are just straight on, but when it's a corner store, sometimes we will take it from the corner. So we kind of broke the mold with Mars Bar. You can see also Village Cigars. It's straight on, but it's also at a corner. So that's a wedge-shaped building. Very unique piece of history about New York surrounding that one. But
Questions after, okay.
oh, there's some questions on the chat.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
But Katz's, they own the building, and the current owner sold their air rights, and that is why there's a huge condo looming right next door to it. Is because it's a single-story building. How it works in New York.
How much did they get, hon?
I believe it was like $20 million.
20.
It was quite a lot of money. Because it stretches down the corner, the corner of Ludlow, and that's not their original location. Oddly enough, you guys, I mean, I'm not old enough to know this, but when I spoke with the owner, he told me no, they were originally located across the street, on the other side of the street, on
Where the
Ludlow.
parking lot was,
But because
in my
they
area.
were eminent domain, they built the subway. They forced them to move, and that's why they moved there, and they bought the building. So that saved the business for them. The fact that they were forced.
They also sold the deli a couple of years ago.
Yeah, so they were forced to move, but thank God he bought the building when they were forced to move. And now some people were mad, like saying, "Oh, that's a sellout that he sold the air rights." But I say no. Listen, Cat survived. When we interviewed the owner, and that wasn't even Jake. Jake's running the show there now, but I had spoken to one of Jake's relatives, and he told me that he used to go there and close up at night and hold the meat cleaver in his hand from chopping the pastrami.
Yeah, to go out to his car.
to go to his car.
Same thing in Sunset
Right.
Park.
Oh, yeah.
When we
In the
moved in,
1970s, Houston Street was not
Oh, yeah.
kind of a very
Everything.
safe place to wander
Right.
around at 1 o'clock in the
Right,
morning.
right, right.
Katz's is open pretty late at night. They always have been. So, I have to say kudos to him for getting the $20 million or whatever the figure is. You can look it up online. It's public information. But they had, first of all, the wherewithal to purchase that building when they were forced to move from the city, from eminent domain, when they built the subway, to their present location that they are now, plus stay there through all the problems.
Yeah.
And even Nikki Russ Fetterman, the owner of Russ & Daughters, told us the same thing, that in the 1970s, her parents thought about getting rid of the building and relocating the store because so many customers would come in.
Yeah, why are you guys still in this horror show?
Complain that they were afraid to come into the store.
Yeah, they're
to
like,
get
why
their-
don't you move?
To get their, smoked salmon because the neighborhood was so bad. But they stuck it out. They said in their mind, listen, we lived through the Great Depression and all the stuff that went through here, we're not going to give up now. The neighborhood will come back. And so it did. I mean, now.
Same thing in New York now, with the Christ.
Right.
Come back.
So,
Right,
people
exactly.
say
It
to
always
us,
does.
oh, we get interviewed because we photograph so many stores and so many have closed, and they say, oh, what do you think, the pandemic has caused the hastening of many, demise of many businesses, which is true. Have you given up on New York? I said, no. James and I were here through the whole pandemic. We did not leave. I believe that all these empty storefronts, and I know that there's a lot because all James and I do is walk around endlessly. Because of Hudson, we tend to walk everywhere. We don't even have a car here in the city, which is a whole nother story. But at any rate, we walk a lot and we observe. And I see all the empty storefronts, but I'm hopeful that it will give another opportunity, that hopefully the rents will go down in certain neighborhoods. Or even if they stay the same, eventually it will give the opportunity for a new business owner to come in, like Joey, who took over this storefront, and take a chance and make a dream come true. Because these shops are like the dreams, the hopes and dreams of almost every one of these owners. Most of these are immigrant owned. I mean, really, if you think about it, unless you're an American Indian, everyone's an immigrant here when you come to New York. I mean, I was born in New York. I was born in Mount Sinai Hospital, but on my mother's side, my grandparents weren't born here. On my father's side, we're back many generations in New York, which is fabulous. But I mean, they all came from somewhere at one point. At one point, everyone was an immigrant, and these places represent the hopes and dreams to make usually a better life for their children. Very few times does a storefront close because of the owner retiring. There are a few, and we've even interviewed some of the owners. And one instance is in our book. There's a place called Joe's Dairy. It's in our book, Storefront: A Disappearing Face in New York. Not Storefront 2, but the one that has Ralph's on the cover. And I spoke to the owner. It's closed now. It was in what was once the Italian part of Greenwich Village, but it's on the other side of Houston Street, so it's really considered Soho now, but he still considered
Right.
it Greenwich Village, because at one point Greenwich Village extended to the other side of Houston Street as well. And he said, you know what, getting up really early and making homemade mozzarella, which is what they were known for, but is not easy. It's very labor intensive, and it's a lot of hard work, and it's really hard on your hands. I have arthritis from doing all, the preparing of the mozzarella, and I don't want my daughter to take over the business. I want her to get an education. I didn't get an education. I started working at this store when I was a young boy, and I didn't go to college, and I don't want that for my children. So sometimes that is the reason, but very rarely. Most of the time, the reason that all these stores have closed, sadly, that we have documented, is because they don't own the building and the rent goes up, or the building gets sold. I mean, it's the same story. Whether the rent goes up or the building gets sold, the end result is the same. Basically, the landlord is telling you, I don't want you here anymore, for one way or the other. So, I mean, I guess the moral of this, and the reason we're so passionate about, talking about mom and pop stores and championing them, is that we feel like they're an integral part of every neighborhood of New York City. I mean, each neighborhood to us is unique, in part because of the mom and pop stores that they have. And it's so important to shop at them, because the bottom line is they need your business. I mean, whether you think they're doing well, whether they own the building or not, like I said, Russ and Daughters own their building. That doesn't mean they weren't in trouble during the pandemic when they couldn't even function, and had to lay off a lot of their workers. And even though they got, that the pandemic thing that they had for small businesses, not every small business owner was able to get that. I mean, I know firsthand, I can name 2 other businesses in the East Village that applied, including B&H Dairy, for the small business loan and never got it. So don't think that everybody that applied for those small business loans got it. It didn't work that way. In fact, people got the loans that maybe weren't really a small business at all.
Right.
So the most important thing really is to try to shop local. We do that. We try to give back to the community. And yeah, we just love our mom and pop store. So yeah, love to answer some questions. First, we'll take some from the audience, and then we're live streaming this, so we'll take some from our live stream audience as well.
Sure.
So yeah, does anybody have any questions for us? Oh, Jen. Oh, thank you.
I have a comment to make. My friend Danielle from Ireland has been watching you, and she's telling me somebody's trying to get his attention on the chat. I don't know why.
Oh, because Hudson has a delivery.
Yes.
Did someone deliver something for?
The delivery, but
All right.
I think that he's not ready for it yet.
Oh,
Gotcha.
Okay.
He interfere.
Okay.
Yeah, gotcha.
It will disrupt the whole talk, is what I'm trying
As I
to
was
say.
carrying it, I realized.
What it
Thanks,
is.
Marjorie.
Okay. Somebody thought of
Thank you.
Hudson and has a delivery for him. We'll get to that in a minute. Thank you, Jen.
But Danielle loves both of you.
Oh, thanks.
From Ireland, from Dublin.
Oh,
This is
thank
our
you.
10-year-old rescue dog, Hudson.
Right, this is Hudson. He's a star,
So cute.
And in fact,
We rescued him at 4 months.
Aw.
let me see.
He was on death row.
Oh no.
If we have
With that face?
Yeah, I know.
where's our picture?
In a
of-
dangerous dog pen.
Oh, yeah, we didn't have this picture that we put as our author photo. We had a photo with our dog in it too, but he got tired that night. This was before we rescued this guy. We had another guy named Tabasco. He was with us this night, but he got so tired because I think he must have been like
Yeah, he was in the car.
13 years old or
Yes.
something like that. So he fell asleep before, you know, we took this with a tripod, like, and we put it on a timer.
Right.
So yeah, he had fallen asleep, and then yeah, he didn't make it into the photo. But in our first book, Storefront, The Disappearing Face in New York, you could see, I think both Java and Tabasco are in that book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first book, 326 stores,
Right, over
almost
90
90% are gone.
Right, and even
This book came
this
out.
book, which is available here at the bookstore. Joey has copies. If you're interested, we'll sign them for you. Plus,
It's
we-
closing in on 30-40%
not
gone.
everybody that comes can also get Hudson autograph, and this is me talking about Ireland from a place that we visited on our walking tour today, East 11th Street. This is Hudson's real paw print that was made into a rubber stamp. Yes, it's your paw print by Casey's
don't judge.
Rubber Stamps on East 11th.
Don't judge.
Yeah, so
We're into our dog.
yeah, we love Hudson. So
Yeah, this has been the best thing, me walking in here. I used to live on 11th. I moved like 20 years ago, and I just got back, and so I've been walking around, and me and my friend are like, Yaffa's gone, and like all the other like.
oh
Yeah.
my God, Yaffa,
Yep.
yeah.
all the stores.
Jaffa, Dojo.
So I'm so happy the ones that are still able to survive are still here. It's been amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
I wish I
Yaffa's
did
in
the
our book,
tour,
New York
man.
Nights. We took
Where's
a
the
photo
tour?
of it.
Is
Yeah.
B&H still there?
Yeah, it's still there.
It's still there, and
Yep,
it's not
just walked
owned
by,
I
yeah.
spoke about this on our walking tour. We did a walking tour prior to, you know, to this talk today. That B&H
Oh, you
Dairy,
did?
even though it's a kosher dairy restaurant because of the Jewish dietary laws,
Oh, cool.
it's not owned by
Cool.
Jewish people anymore. It's actually owned by an Egyptian Muslim and his wife, that's Fawzi, and his wife Ola, who's an immigrant from Poland, a Catholic woman from Poland. But they're still cooking Jewish kosher food. The rabbi still comes in and does his blessing and makes sure everything is up to the kosher standards every week. And it's just, you know, that place is a true immigrant success story because it goes with the whole community of the East Village, like, which has always been a melting pot of different ethnicities. And it used to have a huge Jewish population, and now look, that same store is still chugging along since the 1940s, but now run by a new set of immigrants. So, you know, we love to we'll shout out to B&H and really all the stores in the neighborhood. I mean, countless. We stopped at Venero's Pastisseria. A lot of people don't realize that there was a whole little Italy of the East Village was centered around 11th Street there. You know, you grew up, so you know. I mean, in 11th Street on the East End, because we've been residents a long time, that was the hot block. As you know, if you live there, that was, I mean, it was notorious. It was, that and 10th Street had a lot of drug problems back in the day. I mean, that's, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. I mean, yeah.
Sure, yeah, of course.
We were here. I mean, we didn't take photos of it. We wish we had. I mean, that's another thing when you're doing film photography. You know, back in the day, you always, if you didn't have your camera with you, you were always mad. If you had your camera with you, it was like, oh my God, I just ran out of film. And I mean, luckily you could buy film, you know, at least like the Kodak that we used to use, like we used to just get GC 400, usually 400 speed was most of the, in case you want to know, technical terms of what we shot most of the